Any other nominations? So if we could have a vote by show of hands to that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you for serving, Ms. Boyd. If you would go ahead and begin the meeting this evening.
I'd like to call to order the Monday, February 7th, public hearing for the City of Tampa's Architectural Review Commission. Welcome, everyone. I'm Shauna Boyd, tonight's chair of the commission. If you are here to present a project, you will have limited time to make your presentation, so we suggest being thorough but concise. When coming to the microphone, you'll need to identify yourself and your relationship to the project. The commissioners will not ask any questions during your presentation. Your project should be presented in the following order: site plan, elevations, architectural details, wall sections. Staff will then present the staff report, and we will then ask for public comment. Following your presentation, the commissioners will be asking questions in the same order as the presentation. Please state and spell your name clearly if you are here to speak for or against a project. Your time will be limited to 3 minutes, so take time now to summarize your comments because 3 minutes will go by very quickly. Following public comment, the applicant will have 5 minutes for a rebuttal. The public hearing will then be closed. The only comments which will be allowed after public hearing is closed will be in response to any questions from the commissioners. The commissioners will discuss the case and will make a decision based on the City Ordinance, Chapter 27 of the City Zoning Code, the design guidelines, the Secretary of Interior standards, the Historic Preservation Development Review comments, and the testimony given at tonight's public hearing. The ARC can only act on items that are within our specific jurisdictional responsibility. Owner agents are independently responsible to obtain any appropriate permits and or approvals. If you haven't already done so, please silence your cell phones, and I'll have the commissioners introduce themselves, starting on my left.
Good evening. My name is Dan Myers. I'm an architect.
Hi, Ashley DeCubas. I'm an attorney.
Brent Taylor, I'm a building contractor.
And tonight we have from staff, Dennis Fernandez, Beverly Jewisak, and Kamari Pettis-Mackle.
Kamari Pettis-Mackle from the City Attorney's Office. Madam Chair, can we, now we're on to the minutes for January 3rd and 5th of 2022.
Do you like to move to?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear, was there a motion?
Not yet.
Yes, I move that minutes from the meeting of Monday, January 3rd, 2022, and Wednesday, January 5th, 2022, be accepted to the record.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Dennis, do you have any announcements?
Good evening, Commissioners. Once again, Dennis Fernandez, Architectural Review and Historic Preservation Manager. I'll be brief because we do have a full agenda. I'd like to add the administrative approvals from January 2022 into the record, and I will provide those to the clerk. And then also just announce that we will be holding the second part of the February cycle this Wednesday, February 9th. And we do have a quorum for that meeting, so we will begin that agenda at 5:30 p.m. And with that, we'll move on to conflicts of interest and ex parte communication, and Ms. Mackle will lead that discussion.
Good evening. Will the commissioners please state whether or not there are any conflicts of interest regarding any of the items that are listed on the agenda?
None.
None.
Additionally, will the commissioners please state whether or not they've had any ex parte communications regarding any of the items that are on the agenda?
None.
No,
No.
none.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, commissioners, to please ensure that you press the button for the microphone and that you speak clearly into it, okay? Thank you so much.
Moving on to the continuations, we do have 2 continuations just for informational purposes. That is ARC 21-557 for the property located at 714 South Boulevard, and ARC 21-541 for the property located at 30 East Idlewild Avenue. Both are requesting to continue to a future public hearing and will require renoticing. There's no need for a motion on those continuations. The next item is the swear-in. Anyone in the public who's going to be testifying tonight or public that's going to be commenting, please stand and raise your right hand, including staff.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be providing this evening is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. And with that, we are ready for the first case. This evening's first case is a recommendation to City Council for the property located at 330 East Hyde Park. I do want to start off with a photo presentation for you. You can go to the screen. It's on? Okay. On your screens, you see the 1929 Sanborn map. The subject property is indicated in the green block at the center of the map. That structure that was there in 1929 is no longer present. It is a vacant lot, which you can see here in the center of the aerial. Notice this area of Hyde Park has predominantly mixed structures of periods. There's both historic structures and some large-scale newer construction of different eras. This is the subject site. Currently serves as a side yard for a residence. There is a large tree. It's somewhere situated behind that gray SUV. A little difficult to see in this photo, but I believe the agent will be referencing that tree. It's a little better shot of it there. See the existing driveway and the shared driveway and the structure that's situated to the south. We'll see a photo of that in just a minute. This is the structure that's situated to the north. It is office use. And the contributing structure that's situated to the south. This is a view north on Hyde Park Avenue. This is the view south. You see the bridge going to Davis Islands. This is the view across the street. There's a multi-story, multi-residential structure there. And once again across the street, another vacant lot and office structure. The recommendation this evening is to rezone from RO1 to Planned Development PD. This application did come before you on October 4th. There was a motion to deny that was made at that time and approved, and the agent and the owner have been working with staff to adjust the site plan and the project for your consideration this evening. So with that, I'll ask the agent to come up and introduce himself and the project.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I am Michael Horner, 14502 North Dale Mabry Highway. I represent the applicant and owner, Mr. Brent Balt, who is with me tonight. I'll be joined and followed by Mr. Alex Ariakos of Home Styles Design, and they will be presenting if needed. Alex has a presentation on the elevations. I just want to go through a summary of what changes we have made. First, we listened to you. We heard you loud and clear. In October, we have been working on this project diligently. It has not been an easy one because the site is very constrained. It is only 9,900 square feet. We are surrounded by RO1 zoning, and we are proposing a residential project. So you are penalized under the city zoning code by offering residential in the middle of office zoning because it requires a use-to-use separation of 15 feet. We have done the best we can. The setback is different from buffers. I just wanted to advise, as you probably know, a setback is to a building structure. A buffer is void of any impervious surface. So a 15-foot setback is much more lenient than a 15-foot buffer, which is absent anything. And this site is only 70 feet wide. So given that, we listened to you carefully. We went back to the drawing board. Our client reassessed his position on this development. We took copious notes during your comments. I can't believe it's October, and we are now February, but it's a pleasure to be before you this evening. In summary, Commissioners, we redesigned this project. We have reduced the number of units from 8 to 6. We have reduced the parking spaces from 18 to 14. We have increased all of the setbacks. We have increased substantially the open space. These are all concerns referenced at the last hearing. The building area has been reduced considerably. We have relocated office to the other side. We have offered a greater separation to the east. As Dennis mentioned, that is a grand tree, the corner of this site. And we have saved that grand tree. We have also incorporated 2 additional trees. All 3 oaks are specimen. That grand oak is incredible. And we made every effort to make sure it is adequately separated, buffered, protected per all city standards. If we met all of the imposed 15-foot buffers on 70-foot wide lots, we would be permitted to only build a 40-foot wide structure. And I submit to you that would preclude almost all residential development except the townhouse, perhaps. We have filed this plan, and it has represented a reduction in density to 1/2 of the density permitted under the comprehensive plan of Res 50. We are at 26 units per acre arithmetically on our 6 units on this 0.23 acre site. If I can just note a couple comments from the community planning staff at the Planning Commission. Number 1, Planning Commission staff has reviewed this application and found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. Number 2, the proposed structure offers a sensitive design and is overall respective of the neighborhood character. In conclusion, number 3, the request is comparable and compatible with development pattern in this portion of Hyde Park, Spanish Town Creek neighborhood and is consistent with the long-range development pattern encouraged in the Res 50 future land use. I'm going to have Alex go into the elevations and those particular changes, but I wanted you to know that in all those items of concern that were represented at that October 4th hearing, we have gone back and reassessed. And the plan before you this evening, we think, addresses those concerns significantly. We hope to garner your support. We have worked long and hard on this development project, and we appreciate your recommendation and support moving forward. I'm going to have Mr. Ariakos speak at this time. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Alex Ariakos. I'm with Design Styles Architecture. I'm representing Brent as architectural consulting on this project. I just want to run through some of the highlights of this. We really appreciate your time and getting a chance to look at this project again. Okay. Thank you. So as Michael said, we heard you guys loud and clear, and we made some changes to the overall design. And some of those changes included reducing the footprint and increasing the front and rear setbacks, and reducing in order to do that, we had to reduce the number of units from 8 to 6. We were able to remove all the waivers that we had in the additional submission. There were 2 other waivers. but we've reduced it down to these, to the buffer request waivers, reducing the 15-foot with a 6-foot tall masonry wall down to a 5-foot buffer and a 6-foot tall wood fence on the north side. A similar request on the south side, and then on the east side down to a 10-foot buffer with a 6-foot tall wood fence. The reasoning behind the waivers are the constraints on the site configuration. There's a large oak tree in the rear of the property that is pushing the design forward a little bit. So we had to work around that tree. We also wanted to maintain 2 other trees that were existing on site. And because of the parking configuration, in order to achieve the desired density, it really limited the side setbacks. So trying to accommodate all parking on site for the units. And because there's no alley access in the rear of the building, we could not have a drive through with a more narrow drive. So we had to have, had to be 18 feet for the parking spots, 24 feet for the drive aisle, and 18 feet. You'll see through the presentation, and I'll try to go through this quickly as possible, massing and scale, we feel fit with the adjacent properties. Directly across the street is a 5-story multifamily building that sort of dwarfs this. The architectural style is to be determined, but what we are presenting is a general idea of the massing and scale. We feel when we do get to that point, we will make sure that it will be consistent with the buildings reviewed and approved by the ARC. We will show you some other multifamily buildings in this area that were reviewed and approved by the ARC within proximity to the building. And then we feel it will contribute positively to the streetscape along Hyde Park. There are a lot of parking lots along Hyde Park Avenue, so I'll show you those. And I just reiterate that again. So this is the site plan. Zoom in. This is showing the large oak in the rear of the property that pushes the building forward. But we're also, on this, you will see the 15-foot setback in the front, the 10-foot setback in the rear, with a jog in the building that's close to 28 feet to make room for this, for the beautiful tree there. And then it's also showing the planned trees that will flank each side of the building on the north and the south. The ground floor plan is showing the basic configuration with the 14 parking spots, elevators in the rear with stair towers on the corners. This office was converted to a mail room, so there will be no office functions in there, so it'll just be mail bank for the residents. This is showing the basic floor plan with the 4 units with the rooms and their configurations. And this is the roof plan showing the mechanical that will be placed on the roof. So I wanted to show some of the context of the area. As you'll see, all the buildings in red are commercial structures. So you can see this is a very commercial heavy area. All the buildings in the yellow are multifamily, and all of the green is green space, and all of the gray is paved. So you will notice on the area between Platt and De Leon and Plant and Hyde Park, it is mostly paved area along Hyde Park. It just so happens that these 3 structures, or these 3 lots, probably have the most green space of the area. And all of the starred buildings are contributing structures. I also want to note, kind of hard to see here, but we feel that the building and its setback from the street maintains the rhythm we feel with the neighborhood. Some of these buildings have very close proximities to the road, 10 feet, 10 feet. Here you have this 30-foot setback for that building, but that's because of the large oak tree that's in the front of this. And then you've got even closer, this is the church down the road. and then, varying setbacks along the way. This is the graphic that was shown a little earlier. This is more of an illustrative plan showing the concept. Hyde Park is a one-way road, so it's not necessarily as much of a residential street as some of the others in Hyde Park. It tends to be a little bit higher speed, so just wanted to note that. Also, I wanted to note the distance between the buildings, 25 and 17 feet, which is a significant spacing. And then showing the large tree here in the back that will potentially provide some nice seating for the residents here, and the tree at the front of the site and the rear of the site that's intended to be maintained. This is also showing landscaping, significant landscaping with a wood fence that would surround the property to separate the functions. And quickly, we'll take a walk down Hyde Park. So this is Platt. We're walking south. So this is showing the two-story structure on the east side of Hyde Park. We move down a little bit further. We have a smaller building that with parking here. We move down a little bit further. This is just past that shorter building with more parking. We move down the street a little bit more, and we're getting close to the subject site. This is the blue house that was shown earlier to the north of the site, and the larger 5-story multifamily building. This is standing a little bit closer to the subject site, which is right here. You can see the tree behind this highway sign. And we move down a little bit further. This is the house to the south. You see more parking with office behind. And then this is mostly parking for the church there. And then we move down to the end of Hyde Park there and the church. So I wanted, this is just showing you, I have some pictures following this, the locations of some of these pictures. Subject site is here, so I might refer back to this. This is a building that was reviewed and approved by the ARC. It is a 3-story townhome building that exists here. This is a shot that was similar shot was shown earlier from here, looking at the 5-story condo tower or apartment building. This is a shot of an office. These are shots of an office building just behind the site. So these are this building is directly behind. So this picture is taken from here and here. I wanted to show this for its proximity to the road, and this is actually the blue house to the north of the subject site with the large tree and its proximity to the property line. This is a shot showing the residential townhomes that I showed earlier and their proximity to the road. And here's another building on Platt here and its proximity to the road. And have some more here on Platt that's within the block here and here, showing their proximity to the street. This is a photo showing the blue house to the north with this large tree that actually rests on the house, and it's pushing that building further back than most of the other buildings in the area. So I wanted to show this. This is the sister property of this particular project, and this is a similar use to what we are proposing on the site. I mainly wanted to show this not for architectural style, but mostly for scale and general configuration of the building. It also shows the pervious pavers that will be used below the building to allow for water drainage. And now we're moving into the elevations. I created a graphic that shows the relative height to the adjacent structures We are within a few feet of the general height of these structures. Here are the elevation, all 4 elevations of the building, showing its scale and mass. I did another one really quick just to show with the fence and how it would affect the elevation. And this is a rough conceptual rendering of the building. It's not meant to be indicative of the architectural style, more or less just the configuration of the building on the site and its massing and placement. And the last image here is a little bit further north on Hyde Park Avenue, showing what you would potentially see driving down this road. Cars fly pretty fast down this road. So there's this large sign that would impede visuals to this particular building, and then we intend to maintain this tree, which would also provide a little vegetation buffer. And that concludes my presentation. I really appreciate your time again. And I think that's all we have.
Does that conclude the presentation from the agent as well?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Thank you. Staff will present their staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Dennis Fernandez with the staff. Did want to first remind you of your role here this evening. Under the recommendation authority of the Architecture Review Commission, specified in Chapter 27, Section 27.113, your role with regard to applications for rezoning, changes to land use classifications, or comprehensive plan amendments is to review and recommend reasonable land use changes to the extent necessary to preserve the historical integrity and appearance of this case, the locally designated historic district in accordance with the applicable design standards. So you're providing a recommendation to City Council. The owner's hearing is this Thursday, and staff will be presenting your recommendation at that time for their rezoning. If council does approve the rezoning to PD, then they will have to come back to you for the certificate of appropriateness process. So the images that were shown this evening by the architect are for visioning purposes only, so you will have an opportunity to influence the design of the structure. However, that process does lock in the plan, so that plan that was shown to you today is what you should be focusing on. With regards to the plan, I did want to get some more information with respect to the location of any mechanical or generators on the site. I'm not sure if those are going to be on the roof or going to be on site somewhere. I didn't see those indicated. And then I would recommend that you take a look at the staff report to add a note to the site plan to recommend the City Council adds a note that authorizes the Architecture Review Commission the ability to adjust setbacks on all elevations of the project for a distance of up to 5 feet to enable the development of building elements that characterize the Hyde Park Historic District and that will facilitate the architecture review process. Lacking a note of that nature, you will not be able to adjust any of the fixed footprint of the structure when it comes back to you for the CA process. With that, we do find the application consistent, and you are able to move forward with consideration at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. For public comment, is there anyone here to speak for or against this project? Seeing none, we will start asking questions, starting on my left.
Can you please clarify, the buildings to the left and right of the existing site are both currently used as offices?
Yes, sir.
All right.
To the north and the south, yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that was fine.
Mhm.
All right. And why was the choice made to you've requested a variance to go from a required masonry buffer wall to a wood wall?
Well, I don't know if it would really add any value to the site itself. We can't shrink the north and south dimensions of the building, so then we'd have to add an additional 6-foot wall. And I'm not sure if, I mean, that could be a possibility, and we can do that if that's what you guys would like to see. But we feel it would be more appropriate to do something a little bit more residential in nature for that particular condition.
Okay. And that wall will require a substantial footer. Have you investigated, perhaps the fence is, a wooden fence is an easier option close to the grand tree that you have in the rear corner of the site?
Yeah, that would be a big consideration for that, for sure.
Right, but for the rest of it, it seems like there's no particular reason. Because it's going to be either it will be either a 6-foot wood wall or a 6-foot masonry wall. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Is this, you're showing the roof, is this the location of the generators?
Yeah, I just wanted to pull that up. The intent would be for all the HVAC and mechanical to be incorporated on the roof. So none of it would be located on the ground.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Will there be any required fire protection equipment outside the building?
Yes, yeah. And it would most likely be towards the front of the site.
So you'd be required a standpipe, is that?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay,
I would assume so.
yeah. But you're not I'm unsure as to whether or not you're required of generators. Do you know if you're required a generator or?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Is there a plan for one?
Not at this moment that I'm aware of. I don't know if we can answer that question, no.
Good. I don't have any additional questions. The applicant is now allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal, if you choose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Didn't hear a lot of information that would require the rebuttal. I just wanted to reiterate how we try to comply with all your prior concerns and discussions. The 6-foot fence was a recommendation. We offered to do vinyl, and then I think staff inserted the wood fence to replicate character. We're open to the fence versus the wall. Obviously, we want to have the wood fence near the grand tree for those protection elements. But beyond that, don't have anything else to offer. And thank you so much for your time.
Now we will discuss the case.
Can you,
Close the public hearing.
The public hearing is now closed.
It's come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got nothing.
I would like to see some more elevation change in and out, but I think that's something that we'll see.
Can you?
I need to speak to the
Yes.
I would like to see some more elevation change as far as bumping the property or the building in and out. But again, I think that's something that we'll see and be able to do at the certificate of appropriateness.
Right.
As long as we put in the recommendation for the 5-foot here, I think that we can cover ourselves there.
Yeah, just whoever, if anyone chooses to make a motion to approve, if we could just, say exactly what's on our report tonight in the conditions, that'd be great.
Other than that, I mean, I think they attacked everything else that we had mentioned in the past.
Great. A lot more sensitive to the site.
I think I would like to mention the words commercial vernacular. As as we move forward, I think that that gives us a lot of room for them to improve their schematic elevations at this point. And that being said, I think we're ready for a motion. I'd like to move that we approve, I have to get my,
The recommendation of city council.
yes, okay.
The bottom.
Denial. Thank you. Move to recommend city council approve ARC 21-451 for the property located at.
Can you, I'm sorry, before you, Kamaria Pettis-Mackel from the city attorney's office, can you please announce the entire case reference, ARC 21451/REZ 2167? Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Move to recommend city council approve ARC case number ARC 21-451/REZ 21-67 for the property located at 330 Hyde Park Avenue for the proposed rezoning from RO1 to PD with the following conditions. That the, I think it's the
Just-
north,
Want to read that?
oh yeah, but I'm also,
Okay.
I'm putting in something about the wall.
Okay.
That the north and south boundary walls be masonry with the exception of the area close to the grand tree, and that the, I believe it's the east wall? Am I? Let me see.
Yes, it would be east.
Okay. And that the east wall also be masonry, with the exception of the area at the grand tree. And that the, that there should be a note added to the site plan to authorize the Architectural Review Commission the ability to adjust setbacks on all elevations for a distance up to 5 feet to enable the development of building elements that characterize the Hyde Park Historic District and that will facilitate the architectural review process.
I second.
Can you follow complete your
Oh.
motion?
Sorry. For the reason that the proposal meets the requirements for the massing and location of the project within the Hyde Park District.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Moving on now to our second case is ARC 21-343 for the property located at 504 East New Orleans. The request is new construction of a primary structure, accessory structure, and with site improvements. And I'll go to the photo essay now. Is it up? This project is located in the Seminole Heights Historic District. See a green box around the subject site. This is in the center, Hillsborough High School, to give you proximity. And moving to the east, this is Interstate 275. See the 1929 Sanborn map? The red line indicates the corner boundary on the south and the east of the local historic district. And you see Hillsborough High School in the center. The aerial provides you some contemporary context with the subject site identified in the green box. And once again, you see Interstate 275 to the east, and then just parts of the Hillsborough High School campus to the west. This is a photo of the subject site, vacant lot. This is the property abutting to the east, I believe. This is across New Orleans to the south. This particular site is going to be flanked by 2 alleys. So this is a photo of one of the alleys that abuts to the west. And then this is a second alley that follows in the rear. Another shot of that alley. This is looking east down New Orleans. You see the interstate in the background. And then turning around and looking west towards Central. With that context, I did want to go back to the aerial for just a moment. And you see the subject property. There's going to be an alley on the west and an alley in the rear. And with that, we have the agent, and he can begin his presentation. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James F. Montjoy. I'm an associate of Montjoy Consulting. We're the designers for this new project for 504 East. East New Orleans Avenue. Our proposed design is an architectural craftsman 4-square house that is located in the Seminole Heights district. And we have been working closely with the historical department of the city of Tampa, Ron Villa, on the design appropriateness of our design for the new project. I'd like to start off with the with our new site plan. We're showing a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house with a detached garage in the back.
This is your Zoom, and
Okay.
you see how that zooms
Yes.
in? And that's going to zoom it out
Okay.
for you, okay?
Perfect. The house is going to be approximately 2,500 square foot living, and then a 400 square foot detached garage, which gives us a total of 2,650 square feet of pervious area of building a structure on the property. We also show a new fence that's coming from the front edge of the detached garage in the rear of the house, coming along which will be the east. No, I'm sorry. And I am a little confused about directions because I got one directional arrow from the surveyor, then I got a different one from the city. So if we're looking at the front of the house, we'll look at to the right side of the house. Our new wood fence line will come down the right side of the house, back to the house, the new residence, and then we'll have an open yard to the left-hand side of the new single-family residence that's in the alleyway there. And then we're going to have a new driveway in the back to the detached garage of the existing house. We also have a 13-foot eave-to-eave setback between the two structures that we're proposing for the lot. We also show that we have a new hip roof design that we're trying to meet the craftsman style house in that area so that we can help with the water retention because of the size of the impervious area and the size of the lot, so that we'll have gutters and storm ADS drainage on the property site to bring the water forward to the street. Now, one of the biggest concerns is the front yard setback. By our survey, from the survey company, we show a 15-foot building line. Now, we went out and we measured from the city of Tampa's requirements that we should be from the edge of pavement. And we have the edge of pavement dimensions from the properties that are adjacent to the 504 address. So from the edge of pavement to the house, we're approximately 24 feet from the edge of pavement to the new structure. Now, the biggest issue is the building line, the property line is only 8 foot from the edge of pavement, and that's shown right here on the existing survey. It's 8 foot. So we want to move forward with a 16-foot front setback from the property line and a 24-foot from the edge of pavement to the building line, which is the front porch. And I apologize, I'm still confused about the orientation, but we'll work on that. This is our proposed front porch, front elevation of the house, staying in the Craftsman style. The double windows downstairs, the single windows in the 2-bedroom and the bath, a hip roof, and then we have the main hip roof. The hip roof is over the porch section, and then we have the main hip roof, and then we have a gable false dormer, or we could put a window or a vent in that space that's in front of the new design. We're using hardy siding. We're going to take off, we're going to have a 10-inch band, trim band at the top, and then we're going to have 6-inch hardy, and then 5-inch hardy trim, and we're going to use 5-inch hardy trim around the windows. All the windows that are on the project scale here as far as our exterior elevation. We're going with a glass door for the front elevation for the front door, and then single hung windows, open pane, top and bottom for the windows of the structure. We're showing simulated stucco bands between the piers. We also took off the 2 columns that we originally had on our design because the house is narrow, it's 27 feet wide. So if we had the 2 front columns by the door, it just cutters up that whole front design. So taking those 2 front columns off by the door, it opens it up so that people have a view to that front porch with no problem. Our rear elevation is the same product, hardy stucco in between, because we're using a foundation, a stem wall foundation for the main body of the house, but for the porch and the rear porch, we're going to use piers and wood floor decks for those porches, front and rear of the house. We have a 612 roof pitch. We're going to use GAF architectural shingles, which are in the, we still got to pick a color for that because we need to come up with a color palette as far as the design. This is our, from the front, if you stand in front of the house, this is our left side elevation coming from the alley, where we show that we have the glass window like we have in the front. We have our window sizes, which are like 2'6" by 53 inches, and then 2'6" by 36 inches for the windows that are in the bathroom and kitchen area, bathroom and kitchen, and then these 2 windows are in the family living room space, and then this one is in the master bathroom space. Then our front porch, then we have the little concrete sidewall on our steps, which blend into the front porch, which takes away, which helps bring the contrast to a Craftsman style house having that feature. This is our right side elevation, which will be focused from the adjacent house, looking back to this house, and the window that we have here is in the, I want to make sure on that one. Yeah, that window there is in our staircase that's going up to the second floor. So just bringing natural light into that staircase space. And also the house is constructed masonry on the first floor and masonry on the second floor because we want to make sure that we have the detail of the inset window. If that house was built masonry on the first floor and frame on the second floor, we will have the issue of going either with a 6-inch or 8-inch frame wall, but we still want to use the hardy siding and everything and blend everything together. So by going with masonry, we can still have the inset to keep that craftsman style look all the way through in the design. This is our detached garage in the rear of the house. We're doing this, the same hardy siding, the same band, trim around the garage door. We're gonna have a craftsman style garage door, which when we get to the material palette, I'll show you examples of that. This is our side elevations, and then that elevation that we said is the right side elevation. When you face the garage, is on the right-hand side. That's the elevation from the yard that you will see from the back porch, where you have a door and a window on that side. And then on the opposite side, we have no windows on that wall because it's an alley. And we're just trying to secure the house, but also keep in nature of what's going on in that neighborhood. And when I say going on, just how the culture is growing and the opportunity to develop a beautiful craftsman style house. You just securing the house, and I'm just trying to say, you're securing the house, but also you're just reflecting the premise of, whole flat wall that is undisturbed. I apologize, my staff member printed off the wrong wall section. This wall section should show the masonry block above, but we're carrying the asphalt shingle, we have the hip roof, we have the continuous aluminum vented soffit, the hardy trim above the window. We're using Anderson or Marvin clad windows, hardy trim. The siding is the hardy, then the window cut through section is through, and then we have our monolithic 2-story footer or stem wall footer that we're using for the design. And once again, this is the cut through of the porch, which our columns are going to be 2-foot wide, brick wrapped on the bottom with a hardy siding, tapered column, and then our hip roof that's tying back into the existing house. And we're also showing how our porch is coming out with that wall that separates the steps from the outside edge of the steps going onto the house. And we have a 2-foot overhang around the existing house. And once again, this is our garage wall section. And, print out the wrong one. And then we will have hardy siding, we'll have the door that match, asphalt shingles, hip roof, 2-foot overhang, closed-in soffit, continuous vented soffit, which we'll use hardy product for the soffit for this Craftsman-style house. These are 2 elevations of houses that are built in the neighborhood. They're Craftsman style, and that's pretty much what we're trying to depict in our design and what we're moving forward with for this project, to try to stay in that vernacular for that area in Seminole Heights. Here's another house with the same look, and the fencing that's on this house is the type of fence design we would like to go with, that wood fence that's coming around from the back side, the rear side, the left side of the garage, all the way back down to the side, coming back into the house. That's what we're looking to do with our fence style there. So we want to go with the Cope carriage house doors. The one that I really like is this one, because it gives the effect of a door that opens out, but it doesn't. It's a roll-up door with the lights that are at the top. We're using the hardy soffit. It'll be the 24-inch soffit, ventilated, smooth. Using the hardy trim. Around the windows, and the 6-inch trim around the 6-inch trim, that's the siding. 5-inch trim around the doors and the windows. And we're gonna go with the smooth look again. We're gonna use the hardy plank. And then there's a choice of option of using, you can stay with smooth, or we can go with the cedar mill, but the trim should be smooth because it'll be decorative and nice and pop out instead of using the cedar mill plank. We're using the GAF Timberline Natural Shadow Shingles on the project. They have multiple different colors, so that's why we need to generate our color palette in regards to what color shingle, but we would like to stay with this product. We want to use the Anderson straight line glass panel doors for exterior. With the black hardware for the door, but you know, it's a nice open look to look into the house. You walk in, it's a nice grand feature, unless we have to do obscure glass or something like that, but we like that clear opening. There is a big change, and I missed it. It's my fault. We are going with the Anderson double hung windows because of the trim work that's around the window and the trim that we're going to put on the window. This is what we're looking at, but if we need to make options to go to Marvin or Sierra Pacific and get another type of window that's in that wood class, vinyl cladded, not vinyl, but metal cladded window for the Cinema Heights district. Then our last, might not be our last selection, but one of the things we would like to go with is this outdoor lighting from Messino. And I like it because, and also I think it comes into play with our Craftsman type look, that it's like a lantern type, but it's clear glass with a nice black frame around the sconce feature itself for outdoors. So that would be on the front porch and the rear porch. So now that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Staff will now present their staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Once again, presenting the staff report. The staff does feel that the application is consistent with the Seminole Heights design guidelines with the plans that were presented. We do have some comments as I was following along. We will need to correct the directional arrows on the elevations. Just for the record, the front elevation is south, the right is east, the left is west, and the rear is north.
Okay.
He did show a style of fencing. I would like to see on the site plan where the fencing is planned to be placed. There are some corrections that need to be initiated on the drawings. We normally handle those types of corrections as staff, but that's up to the comfort level of the board. Would like to see a clarification on the notes for the soffits. He did indicate hardy soffits, which is appropriate for new construction. Aluminum soffits are not, so we would need to correct those notes on the plans. We do request smooth hardy as opposed to the cedar, faux cedar hardy, so we would request a smooth. We are comfortable with the window selections. However, we can continue to work with him on a specific manufacturer of the windows. Would also like to continue to work with him on a detail for the dormer, a window versus soffit venting, or vent detail. I think a vent detail is usually more successful in these types of projects with a dormer. And that does conclude the staff comments. I'm available for any questions if you have them. Oh, one more, I'm sorry. The ridge on the front porch does seem to terminate very close to the center window on the front elevation. Okay. I think that needs to be reworked to have a little more separation between the peak of the roof and the window. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. For public comment, is anyone here to speak for or against the project? Seeing none, the commissioners will start asking questions.
You're supposed to start over there.
Anybody who's got questions?
Do you want to go ahead and just address what Dennis brought up? The location of the fence, I think you did point it out.
Yes,
in
the
site plan.
location
If you
of the
wanna show us
fence
again.
is shown on the site plan. I have this line right here that comes all the way down and comes right back to the house, and it starts right here.
Okay, and then it's open on the other side, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to look at the front ridge that he was talking about?
Mm-hmm. He's talked about this one right here.
Mm-hmm.
And we can lower that pitch to like a 412, and that should get us clear, because originally in our design, we had a shed that didn't look as well because of the porch, and so that's why we went to the hip. And so I can, instead of all the roofs being 612, the main structure roof should be 612, but that little 8-foot porch, we can reduce that down to a 412 pitch. That should clear so that we get the trim band underneath and get another, make it look like that siding is going all the way through above that roof pitch.
Okay. Oh, how about the paving and scoring? I don't think we saw any of those
Paving?
details. Mm-hmm.
The dash lines that are on the site plan, those are pavers.
Okay.
I need to call them out. Sorry.
Okay, so that's it, just that front walkway, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the, and this is a construction detail, on the drawings that you submitted previously.
Yes.
It was the house wrap was, the way that returned to the window
Right.
was unclear.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure that
I'll
you,
clean that up.
yeah,
Okay. Will do.
all right,
Right.
thank
And
you
you're
very
talking
much.
about the trim that's going to be inside the window piece, and that's going to match the trim to the outside trim.
No, it's that, the waterproofing that goes right behind the
Oh,
hardy board.
okay, yeah,
It wasn't, it needs
Yeah.
to return.
Right, it needs to return inside into the house and wrap back in. Yeah, yes, I've had that experience in the field where you pay somebody to wrap the house and they cut the wrap and thinking that I'm just supposed to install the window without the wrap. But I will make sure that detail shows the wrap going inside and then being stapled to the two 2x4s that create that window space.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Yeah, top and bottom too.
top and bottom, yeah. Wrap
Top and
in,
bottom, sides.
wrap out, inside. Make it 45 at the corners and bring it on around.
Score an X.
That's
It's
right.
real simple. Do you have a window detail showing us, I know you talked about recessing that window back into the wall.
Yes.
How far are you looking to?
I had details that I've used before, but I don't think this detail is appropriate. No. Because I have a window head detail, a window jamb detail, but I'm not sure if that's what you're really technically looking for. And I need to create, I think, a better detail than that one.
So maybe a better question for tonight would
Yeah.
be, if we put something in a motion, if we get to that point, that you can work with staff.
Yes.
Would you be open to that?
Yes, I'd be open to that.
All right, you mentioned, or you clarified on the soffit, the material is gonna be a hardy soffit. What about the porch ceiling?
Porch ceiling is gonna be hardy bead board,
Okay,
because we want to stay in that class. Don't introduce another foreign substance when we're already into the hardy business.
what about the fascia?
The fascia will be hardy also.
And on your hardy trim, the thickness, are you looking at 3/4 or?
Yeah, because it's a
5/4.
masonry wall, and we want the siding to go into, the trim. I'm gonna use the bigger, thicker hardy for the exterior trim for the house, because you want it to have, what's the correct word? For it to project out and have movement rhythm, so it looks like it's going into the hardy, but though we're gonna apply it on top of the hardy, but we want it to have depth of feel with the visual look.
And, are you finished, Brent? Excuse me.
No, go ahead, because I cut you off.
I have one more question about the trim around the windows.
Yes, sir.
You've got 6-inch called out, if you bring up your elevation. You've got 6-inch called out on the, or no, excuse me, you've got 5-inch called out as the corner board.
Yes.
And then you said you were also going to use 5-inch around the windows, but it doesn't look like it's 5-inch on the elevation. It looks like it's maybe 3 or 4. If you could coordinate that with.
Yeah, what I do is I go back and recheck that dimension, because I thought sure it was 5 inches around the windows. And then the 6-inch band, well, the siding is 6 inches, because it's actually 7 inches, but when you install it, it'll come down to 6 inches. So yes, I will remeasure the scale of the trim around the windows and make sure that they're 5 inches.
See, I was thinking that it maybe ought to be at something a little smaller.
Smaller
But,
than?
so what
Okay.
I'm going to do is I'm going to just ask you to coordinate that with staff.
Okay,
Because I like the way the elevation looks.
Okay.
Everything looks like it's the right size.
uh-huh,
And so your hardy trim is 5 inches, and you said you're going to use 5 inches around the window, but if you look at that elevation, they look to be different.
okay,
The trim around the window looks to be thinner.
thinner, okay.
So,
All right,
Just-
we'll work with it. But
thank
would you accept the 5 inches, or you want us to go down like 4 inches?
I think you can coordinate that with
Okay,
staff.
all right.
It's going to be either 3 or 4,
Okay.
I would say,
Okay,
but I don't have my scale here.
yeah,
so-
okay, understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On the twin windows, what is your plan to mold those? Or, I mean, I see how it's drawn. Is that the plan to have a wider
Yes,
trim piece?
a wider trim piece in between, supposed to be about 7 inches, and then we're gonna have, double 2x4, the 2x4 is between there, so we'll make sure we have the distance to put in that mold piece there, and then have a 7-inch mullion in between.
Okay, and for clarity on the window sill, the details look like it might have been a masonry sill, but this looks more like a wood sill.
Yeah, it's a hardy seal. We're gonna take a piece of hardy and create that seal with the slope coming down. Even though that part is under roof, is under the porch, we still want that look to go all the way throughout the whole entire house.
You gave us a fence design. What
Yes.
about a height?
6 foot.
Okay.
Dennis had brought up an option to maybe use a vent instead of a window at that
Yes.
very top. Are you open to that
Yes,
suggestion?
very open to that, yes.
Perfect. And then you've got one window on your side elevation that's on the stairs.
Yes,
Is there an option to locate it either at the base or top of the stairs to create that light?
well, the problem is where the window's located is right at the landing. So when you're coming up the stairs, you have a landing right there, and so that's where we're placing the window at the landing. And then going up the stairs the rest of the way to the second floor.
Are you
Now-
able to pull the elevation up for us to look
Sure.
at for a moment? All right, we'll chat about it. I don't have any
Okay.
questions on it. Will you be providing any lighting on the accessory structure? Any of this?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna use the same
Same one?
lighting that we have for the front porch. We're gonna put those on the garage doors, the big door, and then the man door. We're gonna put
Perfect.
those same lights there.
All right. Any other questions? No?
At the bottom, what is your thought process of termination? It looks like you've got lap siding running all the way down to the stem wall. Is that the finish?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
You're now allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal, if you'd like it.
Right. I'll apologize. We're gonna work with staff in order to make sure that this is acceptable and appropriate, craftsman style house for the Seminole Heights area. We were gonna put in the time, make sure that our window trim, our door trim, our siding, our wall trims on all four sides. We're gonna make sure that they're gonna be acceptable for what we're doing, and then make the modifications on the drawings so that we clearly identify what their goal and their intention, that we meet the City of Tampa Seminole Heights historical goal, and not only goal, but description of what a new construction should be in Seminole Heights. So that's our goal at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public hearing is now closed, and we'll discuss the case.
I think that
Maybe.
There was a question about the side elevation and the location of the windows. Having that window at a landing, I think that it works pretty well, and it also, if you put it really high, it's difficult to clean, and there's a whole, so, but beyond that, I think it works well at the landing. The side elevations of all these residences are always kind of, there's a lot more latitude, I think, because there the architect is placing the windows really for function and not for appearance sake. And so I think that this project really works well in terms of that craftsman and vernacular design and the standards that we have set.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The only thing I saw that, and I didn't ask, was none of the architects or designers said anything, was having a piece of trim underneath the window, but the window sill, that is.
Mhm.
But, again, I'm a builder, not a designer, so. Other than that, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's gonna fit right in. From what I saw, it sounds like he's more than willing to work hand in hand with staff to get a nice finished product.
Do you have any concern about the roof over the front and rear porches being on the hip?
He mentioned that they had studied doing it as a shed and didn't feel that it looked as good. I think if they lower it a little bit, a lot of times we do see that it's the same slope on the upper roof it is on the lower roof, but a lot of times it is different. And so that's one of the clarifications I think that can go to staff, is that the pitch on the porch roofs should just be lowered a little bit.
Yeah, he's gonna have to keep it, for shingles, a 3, but he may find he has to go to a 3 to get it low enough. I'm not sure, but I do think it does need to come lower, but we had that discussion, so.
Yeah, he was open to that.
Yeah, I asked, he did have reference images that he pulled that had different, so I didn't know if that was something that we wanted to address, or if we're okay with it as presented today.
No, I think, I'm certainly okay with it.
All right. Are you clear on conditions?
I think it's, yes, I think so.
staff had mentioned, I just want to make sure, the hardy soffit, not
Mhm.
aluminum, smooth hardy, not cedar. These are things that were not in our staff report.
Mhm.
And the rest I think we covered pretty well.
Mhm. And the window trim.
Mhm.
And details.
Mhm.
I am sitting in the motion seat, aren't I?
Yep.
It's all you tonight.
Move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC, case number ARC 21-343 for the property located at 504 East New Orleans Avenue with the following conditions. The clarification should be presented to staff on the material of the soffits, that it should be hardy. Also, for the porch roofs, or rather porch ceilings, should also be hardy beadboard. And the architectural work with staff on the final determination for the front dormer, that should be a vent, that the porch ridges on front and back shall be lowered, that details regarding the window trim shall be clarified. Also, clarification of details on the house wrap and the location of exterior lighting sconces, both at the garage and at the front and back porches. Let's see here. Because, based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Seminole Heights design guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons. That the project is consistent with those guidelines in the scale, the massing, setbacks, site coverage, and the alignment, rhythm, and spacing of the building elevations.
I second the motion.
And before you,
Do you understand and accept the conditions of the motion?
Yes, I do, and I would like to get a copy of the record so that when I go in, I'll pretty much want all those drawings done, so when I sit down with staff, I'm just a little bit ahead of the game and just trying to make sure, okay, all right, and that's it, but I understand and I'm
Thank you.
ready.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much tonight, I appreciate each and every one of you.
Commissioners, moving on to our next case, is ARC 21-517, the property located at 1912 West Morrison. This is a request for a certificate of appropriateness for an addition to a contributing structure. And it is located in the Hyde Park Historic District. We have a photo essay. On your screens, you see the 1929 Sanborn map with the property in the center indicated in green is a subject property. Does face Morrison. You see Bruce Avenue just immediately ahead of that. And the red line is adjacent to the Summon Crosstown Expressway. Looking at the Hyde Park Historic District map, you see the subject property in the green indicated as a contributing property. Sorry about the size of some of these. Once again, you do see an aerial with the subject property indicated in the green box. There is a detached accessory structure as well. See the front elevation. This is a nicely preserved craftsman-style bungalow. It's constructed in 1912. See, there is a appendage off to the west. Another shot of the front, it's heavily vegetated. This would be on the east elevation. This would be the adjacent structure, I believe, to the west. See more of the side elevation with the vehicular access going to the accessory structure. From the looks of the Sanborn map, this looks to be an addition. There was a bump out on that side, but not as prominent as what's there now. Moving along the side elevation towards the rear, see the configuration of gables and additions. This is the structure that abuts, I believe, to the east. It's a view down Morrison, looking towards Rome. That would be to the east. And then the opposite way, to the west. Looking down the vehicular corridor at the accessory structure. And here's another shot of that accessory structure. I think I'll end on that note and invite the agent to begin his presentation.
All right, thank you. Paul Jackson, I'm the architect for the project. So what we're proposing to do is basically add a small addition on the first floor. This is as staff mentioned, it's a two-story structure. You might commonly call it a camelback. So the primary structure is single floor with a small second-story addition. It's got a single bedroom and a bathroom on the second floor. On the first floor, we're adding on the back of the structure approximately 10 feet to the main living space, and then we're expanding a small closet on the first floor. We're not touching the front of the house at all, which faces Morrison, and we're not doing anything with the accessory structure. On my drawings here this evening, the gray lines represent the existing, and the blue lines represent what we're adding. So this is the front of the house. The drawing on the bottom for all these elevations will be the existing. The one on top is the new. On the second floor, the first floor addition doesn't appear on the front of the house. It's just on the back. The second floor addition takes the existing second floor camelback area and basically extends it across for the width of the house. The existing roof on the second floor, although there's gables on the first, the existing roof on the second floor is hip, so I'm continuing with that vocabulary. On the back of the house, this is, the red, obviously red dashed is where we're taking away, so we're affecting the back of what is a small living room on the back of the house. And we're adding the expansion toward the back, and then on the second floor, you would see the existing second floor bedroom enlarged. This is the west elevation. This is the one currently up is the east, and we're not touching the east. There's no difference between the before and afters on that one. For materials, we're matching the existing materials of the house in every case. This is the front porch, but it shows most of the materials. The corner boards are 1x6s. The siding is a wood pine siding. It's a 105 profile. It's got the little scallop at the top for the tongue and groove. The windows are wood. The window trim is a 1x6. It's got a wood sill on the bottom, and then it's also got a 1x6 on the top with just a little 1-inch overhang or projection on the side. This is the only exterior door we're adding will be on the back, so we'll have probably something like a French door, which is also matches the door they have on the back right now. This is a detail for a window. This is an existing, obviously, but this is what we would match. So we have a wood window with the 1x trims, and the 1x trim, as you can see right here, it's actually on the surface of the pine siding, so that we would match that condition. This is just a quick shot of how the eaves work on the back. You can see that this is a hip, which is why there's no gable. The rafters are just 1x4s, square cut, with the wood soffit above, wood 1x6 tongue and groove with a V groove. I think I have a close-up of that. So this would be our typical eave condition. Corner boards with the eave, and then that looks like 1x4, so we'd go with the 1x4. It's not a V groove, but it's tongue groove. The foundation screen all around the house they have masonry piers. This is for the main structure of the house. On all the corners, they have masonry piers with the lattice. Because we're only affecting a small portion of the building, I would not propose to change the lattice. I don't know that that's as historical as it could be, but that's where we are today. For the shingles, they're architectural shingles. That's got a lot of shadows on it, but if you look carefully, you can see they're architectural shingles, so that's what we would maintain. And then I do have a small step into the back door. We would use a 5/4 wood decking and then a simple handrail and post system for the guards there. And then on the side elevation west, facing the west, I do have the gable does get bigger, and I was proposing 2 brackets or 3 brackets on that gable. So we would this is the bracket at the front of the house that's existing. So this would be the bracket that we would use on the side at the west. The other sheets I have basically tell the same story as the material photos because we're just matching what's there. I thought that was the easiest and most effective way to really present it. So I guess I'll wait for questions. The owner did want to come up and say a few words about sort of the importance of the project to them. So this is the owner of the house.
Hi, good evening. So I'm Melissa Martinez. My husband, Charles Bonner, is firmly on kid duty tonight. But I love living in this neighborhood, and this would be something to add a little more space for our family. So we have 3 children, and this would just give us more family space. And I just wanted to thank you and appreciate your consideration.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Staff will now present the staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Staff finds this application is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines with the plans presented. I know that there was sort of an evolution of some of the drawings that you saw tonight. So I would request that the agent kind of talk a little bit about the different roof connections, particularly as the additions interface on the original portions of the structure and how those are detailed. I don't believe a wall section was presented. I think that would be helpful in understanding some of the installation details. And I believe he has met the other points on the staff report, so I'll stop there and then available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. For a public comment, is anyone here to speak for or against this project? Seeing no one, we will begin asking questions.
So do you have a roof plan that you could show us?
I'll be honest, I don't know that I have a roof plan. I have, some 3D views that I think kind of show the roof geometries. That helps. So this is existing. I'm gonna say 15 years ago, the owner did an addition. It was a different owner. Working with staff, they broke the plane of this roof. Our second floor does pull back to do the same thing. Now I got my drawings all screwed up. And I've tried to maintain that general approach. So you can see on the second floor, it's very small, but we are pulling the addition back from the front face to kind of, and this was something we worked with staff on, to kind of acknowledge with the geometry of the building what's here today and what we're adding.
Are you able to zoom in a little bit? We're getting a lot of glare that makes it a little bit hard to see. Or is that just me?
Oh, yeah.
That is better. If you could just sort of scoot
Okay.
it down.
So just so you know, the red wall there is what we're taking away. That's the existing camelback area. And this is what we would end up with. For the roof connections, I should talk about that.
And-
What, I do have a wall section. Here we go. Well, where staff and I were discussing the roof connection, what that comment refers to is we have the existing roofs which you see from the street right here. And what I am proposing to do is to take that same geometry and extend it up until it meets the second floor wall. So this wall, it's in blue, it's new, it's the part of the addition that steps forward. And staff was a little unsure about that because the existing condition basically stops with a ridge. But what I'm concerned about is if I take the roof and can basically leave it as a ridge and, bring the roof back down to the wall, we're gonna create a kind of a horrible waterproofing detail. And so I'm proposing to basically maintain the existing geometry.
And it appears that we can see there's a higher roof line over the original the original portion of the house?
That's
that correct?
the existing step in the roofs between the higher roof line.
Mhm.
Let's say that was the original house on the Sanborn map. The
Mhm.
lower roof line, this is through the living room, is the 1990, I'm just making up a number, but the prior addition.
Right.
And then, this is what we're doing.
And can we see the elevation, the front elevation, please? Which I realize is very difficult to see from the street.
Right. Well, at the front you can see from the street.
Yeah, but the second story portion is really difficult to see.
Oh, right. Well, yeah, in fact, here, I did this for that purpose. Might need to. So, on the right is the existing photo. I'm standing roughly centered on the window on the porch, looking straight at the house. That's right here. And then on the left of this is, you model this in 3D, and so this is an accurate projection from the same camera position. And you can see the second floor addition with the roof sloping straight up. To me, it makes barely an impact. As you go to the on this photograph, the right, you would see more of the second floor addition. But if you go much farther to the right, the vegetation along the edge of the property line obscures the entire house.
Can I just see the elevation, though?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that's the before and after.
Yeah, and the right end of that elevation, you know, you don't have, there is no symmetrically placed window on the right side as there is, you know, to match the existing one on the left, on the second floor.
Oh, no, I don't believe there is. You talking about this window up here?
Yes,
Right, I believe there is not.
and it just seems a little awkward to me. And I know it's, you know, you don't see it, and it may be that there's a really good reason for that, in which case we have to go, oh, well, that, all right, maybe. But if there's not a good reason, it seems like one of those windows wants to move down.
Onto the existing wall? Is that what you're saying?
No, in other words, it should be.
One of the reasons for doing the second floor, well, one of the conversations we've had with the owner was, you know, to add these windows here, in a way to balance that, but to basically to get more light into the second floor, because right now there's 3 windows on the end, which are nice, but nothing facing the street from that bedroom. This is where the stair comes up.
Right.
The ceiling height there is 7'4", so it's very low. It's dimensionally challenged.
In the addition as well as in the,
Right, because with staff, I did have it higher, but staff felt that the addition should not be higher or supersede the existing structure, so they wanted us to try to lower it. That's why I stepped back the front wall. So there's a slight break in the roof plane to kind of demarcate the two, but because we're dealing with 7'4" ceiling height, it's, you know, it's very small increments that we can kind of do.
I'm only asking that you should put a window at the right end that is the same distance from the corner as the one at the left end.
I
all
think
the
that's
way at the-
fine. We can
you
work
know,
on that, yeah.
It just seems a little unbalanced there.
Okay, yep.
And you can slide both over, you can, you know, this is very minor, okay?
Right, I appreciate that.
All right, I have no further comments.
On that roof line, have you thought about doing a half pitch at some point, going back into the wall? I realize that's not optimal, but
I did actually. Hang on just 1 second. I think this is what you're referring to. Now, this doesn't go all the way.
well, actually, I was thinking about breaking it kind of where it's at now and then going into a half pitch into the addition. So from the road, from the front elevation,
Right,
you would
so-
not see that at all.
Right, that it would be this type of thing, but you're saying could do it all the way across. I think that would be fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think waterproofing wise, it continues to shed the water off the tie roof, you know, away from the second floor. That, to me, that's a very good idea. And I know the owner would like that more than having some type of a cricket where you really gotta fight the water off the roof.
That'll be a
He was concerned
disaster.
about that when I talked to him about it.
That will be a disaster.
But to do this all the way across, I think is a very easy thing to do. Even if we got it so low that you didn't really see it from the street.
I think if you go to a half pitch from the existing ridge, I think you're gonna be surprised and you won't see it.
Right.
That's all I had.
Did you say that you do have a wall section?
Yes. I've added more papers in my pile here. Was it, So from the ground up, we have the piers, wood structure for the floor, 2x4 walls. The siding that I'm proposing will match the existing, which is the pine siding with the 105 profile. I'm calling out these as aluminum clad, but we'll, if we can find the wood that meet the hurricane pressures, then we would do that. I would like to work with staff on that. The bracket would be the 4x4 PT, basically painted brackets. The roof overhang, in this case, it continues the existing line. That's how I think we would end up. On the second floor, you'd have the same siding, the 2x4 rafters with the exposed tail and the 1x4 tongue and groove soffit, and then the asphalt architectural style shingles would be the roofing.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, you're allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Well, in all honesty, I think we've talked through the different issues. For anything that you're not completely convinced of or you're a little concerned about, I would say we're happy to work with staff. We've been doing that for several months. I've worked with them before on other projects. So that's no problem at all, That's our preferred way to go.
Thank you. Now we'll close the public hearing and discuss the case. Any thoughts? I think we have a comment about the roof that Brent made.
Yes.
Does anybody have any thoughts relating to that?
I think I agree with you, making it a continuation all the way across.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
And I agree with you about the windows. Although that's a minor thing, like you said, but I do think it's a little unbalanced, even just from the edges. There's more space on this right side.
Other than that, the jog in the wall, they gave us that. And everything else is in keeping with pretty much what's there.
I have a note that the back door specification is still in the works. And then I do think it would be good for staff to see a roofing plan or a roof plan.
All right, I'm getting my ducks in a
All
row
right.
here. Thank you.
I can do it if you want me to.
Move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC case number ARC 21-517 for the property located at 1912 West Morrison Avenue with the following conditions. That the agent will provide a specification for the back door and a roof plan, including a half slope to the addition, and further study of the second floor windows. Because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons. It is consistent with the neighborhood in terms of the height and width of the proposed addition, its massing and building form, its orientation and site coverage, and its alignment, and the alignment, rhythm, and spacing of the architectural elements.
I second.
Do you understand and accept the conditions of the motion?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioners, prior to the next case, I'd like to re-administer the swear-in for any individuals in the audience who came in after the first swear-in. If you would please stand and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll be providing this evening is the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is ARC 22-42 for the property located at 910 Fremont Avenue, which is in the Hyde Park Historic District. This case has a rather long history that's rather interesting. It began back in 2020 with an approval to relocate a structure from 815 South Rome to the subject site. There was an existing contributing accessory structure that was present on the site that remains today, and that's mainly the focus of your consideration this evening. Presently, the relocated structure is on site and is being rehabilitated, and there is work that's ongoing to the accessory structure that has triggered the need to come back in for consideration of variances. I'll go ahead and let the agent get into that. If there's any holes that need to be filled in, I will do that. Just to begin with a photo essay. See the 1929 Sanborn map on your screen. This indicated in blue is 815 South Rome. This is where the primary structure was relocated to where the green property is on Fremont, and there was already an existing accessory structure there at that time. Once again, on the proximity map, you see the blue box where the sending site was that housed the primary structure that's located there today. This is a very heavily treed aerial that doesn't help you very much, so we'll go to the site. This was a photo taken today of the principal structure, which is under rehabilitation. You can see the siding is going on currently. This is the structure that abuts to the north. And the abutting structure to the south. The focus for your consideration today is the accessory structure, which will be used as a dwelling unit. It is essentially a legal non-conforming use for this particular structure because of the size of the structure and the work that's going on to gain code compliance. There's a number of variances that are being triggered to essentially conform the structure to principal structure setbacks. So normally accessory structures have more minimal setbacks, but because of the size of this particular structure, it is demanding principal structure setbacks. Just going to show you a series of the photos. I'll let the agent kind of explain the master plan here. You can see the structure is being evaluated structurally and is going through a number of renovations at this time for both habitation and auto storage. There was a small addition. I believe it was approved in this area. It was already anticipated for vehicular storage. I believe the agent will show you those plans during this hearing. and you see the alley perspective showing the rear of the structure. See a view down the alley, looking both to the north and to the south. And with that, I'll request that the agent go ahead and present his presentation. I think it's important to give an overview of the request, focus in on the variances first, and then if necessary, we'll move to the certificate of appropriateness. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Stephen Smith, Cooper Johnson, Smith Peterson Architects. Thank you for hearing this tonight. And as Dennis has alluded to, there's nothing simple about this project. It started with relocating this contributing structure, cutting it into 4 pieces like a wedding cake, and then putting it back together on the site. And I'll show you today the layout of these 2 buildings together, the removal of non-contributing pieces to the outbuilding, and really the plans that were approved back in May of the past year. So we're not really showing anything new in terms of the design, both in elevation and plan and site plan. But what we did find when we finally got inside the outbuilding, because when existing drawings were done of it by a local firm that does as-built, it was occupied, and so no one went inside the structure. And so when it was vacated and everyone went inside, we found that it had 6-foot 4-inch head height inside of it. And so what we're asking for today, I know we never have seen that before. I don't know, sort of really short people. I don't know what it was about, or just storage only. But, and the part that had been inhabited on the ground floor is actually one of the pieces that's being removed, or has been removed. So really what we have come back in for is to, believe it or not, raise the building 2 feet so that we can have 8 foot of ceiling height on the ground floor, and also get 4 inches that will add to the slab, because there's a flooding problem into it right now, like many of these outbuildings in Hyde Park. And so when we came back in to discuss it with Ron and Dennis, and then as it went through and went through zoning and so on, we found that one of the previous addition that we proposed and that was approved back in May actually needed a variance, and we weren't aware of it. So we're kind of in here to vest that as well while we're at it, and then also gain approval for adding the 2 feet and making the ground floor habitable. So to help you understand it, the first image is showing the existing house that was relocated, an addition that was done, a great room and porch to it that's under construction right now. And then here's the outbuilding, the original footprint of it. And then the gray area is a 1-story appendage that was removed, that was inhabited. And here's another 1-story appendage that's been removed. Kind of walk you through these. These are existing elevations before any work. This is from the alley side. It's showing this 1-story non-contributing appendage with like a picket fence, like privacy structure there.
This is your zoom in and out right here.
Oh, great, okay. Okay. We've got, going to the north elevation, it's showing the 1-story appendage that was removed as well. Looking over at the west elevation, here's that 1-story pitched roof appendage that's removed. There it is on the other elevation. And then also looking at this, and this is the elevation that faces the house. But this is the 1-story flat roof appendage with a roof deck and its privacy wall that was also removed. Here's a side view of that from the south. Maybe making this a little bit easier. This is a photograph of that one-story later addition that was removed. And then over at the other end, and again, this is the face that faces the house. This is the one-story flat roof, really a roof deck that has also been removed. So we're removing all of the later non-contributing appendages. That's the alley side. Again, really no changes there. Another view of the alley. And then something we'll come back to is its relationship, its eave height with the neighbor. And the neighboring outbuilding is a significantly sized structure as well, contributing. And we'll show you later that the height that we're asking for is really similar to the neighbor's structure. Now this picture is of our noble builder in there, Craig Ross, and showing just a little bit of clearance with the ceiling height in there and the conditions going on inside. So both of these structures have been fully gutted. They're going to be structurally reinforced, all new services within them. They're really sort of being reconstructed from the inside out in a very sensitive way. A better plan, this is now a site plan showing the relocated house, its addition, the driveways that are there right now, the kind of rehabilitated plan of the outbuilding without its appendage. And then here's the new piece that we proposed and were granted COA of back in May. And the shaded area is the area that was found to need a variance. And it projects 4 feet and is 11 feet wide. These are the elevations that were approved at the previous hearing. The alley elevation showing the new pitched roof appendage that we're adding. Looking at the elevation, west elevation facing the home, here's that new pitched roof garage appendage. That's where the flat roof sort of outdoor deck was. And here's what it looks like from the side, looking from the south. So that's the new appendage. And then from the opposite end, the north, there's the 4 feet. That's the subject of the need for a variance. Okay, this is essentially the same approved elevations, but with the added 2 feet. And they occur in this area, so it doesn't affect any of the architectural fenestration to it. But it's showing that we had the original height of 21.8 to the ridge, and now asking for 23.8 to the new ridge height. Something that was important that staff wanted to see was a relationship of the outbuilding to the primary structure, wanting to make sure that, granting this 2-foot addition, we still had this kind of primary and subordinate secondary relationship between the two structures. I think that shows it well. Okay, comparative building sections. Again, on the left, this is existing, showing the slab essentially equal to, and in some places below grade, 6-foot floor head height. And then on the right, what we propose to do, which is adding a 4-inch slab on top of that, and then gaining an 8-foot ceiling height inside. And that's driving our 2 feet. We wanted to show a comparison of our structure elevated compared to the neighbors right next door. So this is our old outline, and then here's our new outline, raising it the 2 feet. We're 23 feet 8 inches, and the neighboring structure, which is a bit wider, you can see ours is shaded, has a flatter roof pitch, a higher plate height, and is 23 feet 5 inches. So we're essentially 3 inches higher. So with that, I was going to read through the variances that are required. And then, is it correct for me to read through the hardship criteria?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. I'll try to be quick with it. Okay, so the variance requested rear yard setback from 20 feet to 6.67 with 2 feet encroachment for eaves and gutters. On the south side, rear yard from 7 foot to 3 with 2 foot encroachment for eaves and gutters. North side, yard setback from 7 foot to 4 with 2 foot encroachment for eaves and gutters. Height increase from 15 feet to 24 feet. In the statements of hardship, we have 2 sets. One is for the setback, and do you want me to read through the text that's both the city's text and our response? Is that how these are done?
Kamaria Pettismacco from the City Attorney's Office. Just read your basis for the
Okay, a
variance
response?
request. Yes.
Okay. The first item, are they unique and singular? And we're saying yes, unique and singular. The footprint of the original building does not really enable the parking of a modern vehicle. So it's really the reason why we are asking for the appendage so that we can get a standard car within it. Let's see, the hardship does not result from the actions of the applicant. No, it's how we found the structure, and it just needs some adaptation for modern living. It will not interfere or injure the health, safety, or welfare of others. We're saying no, just the opposite. It will make this building where it can live into the future and be very useful. Does this serve the general intent and purpose? Yes, we're saying it does. Both the footprint and the height that we're asking for are in keeping with other structures in the district, and again, it adapts the building for modern living. Has substantial justice being done, and we're saying yes, it is. It's not negatively impacting neighbors or anyone in any way. It actually helps get more cars off the street, and it's very kind of congested neighborhood right now. Is it consistent with the design standards? We're saying yes, it is, because of both the height and the footprint follow other structures in the area. When it comes to height, yes, we're unique and singular. Yes, absolutely. Have not seen that before. Doesn't result from any of our actions. And does it substantially interfere with anyone in the neighborhood? And we said, yes, absolutely not. We're only asking for the minimum height, and it is in keeping with other structures. Is it in harmony? Yes, similar to our neighbor right next door. Will substantial justice be done? And we'll say, yes, it makes it, again, a livable structure by today's standards. And it is consistent with the historic Hyde Park guidelines. Its floor-to-floor heights and mass and so on and height is in keeping with that pattern. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Commissioners, once again, Dennis Fernandez with the staff. Just to focus you back on the request before you, your first role here this evening is to consider the request for the variances. Since variances are considered based on the establishment of the hardship, staff does not give a recommendation on that. If those are granted, then we can talk about the CA after. So I would focus your efforts at this moment on consideration of the variances.
Thank you. For public comment, is anyone here to speak for or against this project? Seeing no one. The commissioners will start asking questions.
And it's only regarding the variances.
Correct.
I believe the existing height that is allowed in the area for, and this is an accessory dwelling? Or this is so it's an accessory, is that?
It is, yes, it's a.
And so, and the existing, so an existing, or an accessory dwelling is allowed to be 15 feet? Is that correct?
That's right, and yes, and with, I guess it's called a design exception, they moved to 22 and a half feet, I believe, so, yes, we.
So if you could, so if you were to make it 22 and a half, you wouldn't need a variance, but you want to go to 23 foot 8? Is that?
Yes, yes.
But the building next door is 23 foot 5. Is that, did I get that?
Yes, I think that's right, yes, 23.5.
And staff, has that building gotten a variance, or is it just sitting there non-conforming?
I'm not sure of the history of how they accomplished that height. Based on the subject property, city code allows 15 feet for accessory buildings within the city of Tampa. Within the historic district, there's the option to seek the design exception to bring that to 22 and a half. And then obviously the applicant's requiring a little bit more of that to accomplish the head height. Related to the adjacent property, I'm not sure of the history, but I would say that that is in compliance with city codes at this point. I'm unaware of any sort of nonconformity on that property.
But it's already higher than 22 and a half, right? So
Correct.
So it's either non-conforming or, I mean, it could be non-conforming.
Or it could have gotten a variance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they accomplished that.
But it is certainly an existing condition, thank you.
Correct.
Okay.
What is the depth of that garage as it sits now without the addition?
Yeah, yes, right now it's 18 feet 2, and so we'd like to have 22 feet 2. So if considering, say, a Suburban is 18 feet long, it just kind of gives you an idea of scale for that garage. Typically, with new construction, we'll make our garages a minimum of 22 feet deep. So we're trying not to ask for more.
Any other questions?
And then I'm gonna ask one more. The 4-inch slab,
Yeah.
what was the mindset behind that? Because if you take that away, you actually get below the neighbor's existing by, it looks like about an inch.
Yes, what we found is we get some pretty substantial flooding into the structure because right now it's at grade and in some places has settled below grade from the exterior. So it just sort of comes in both from the openings and just through the wall. And what's kind of interesting is it's like a lot that's occurred with this project is once we touch something, like once we're deciding to come in and lift the structure, then of course our engineer wants to do new foundations under it. So there's going to be a new turn-down slab. So essentially, the building's going to be lifted in place and shored up, and then its foundation, and some of these old buildings, you guys are probably familiar, that there may not be a whole lot of foundations under it. So it's going to all be removed, and a brand-new foundation is going to be put down underneath it and put at a reasonable height above the drives. So it's time to solve a couple of problems going on.
All right, you're allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay. If I could just address the height thing, because I know it's an interesting one in the district and really all over town and in the county, is we also have height limits that 35 feet is kind of a typical one around. And just like with this 22 and a half feet with the outbuilding, they're sort of a generic best attempt at height limits. But what happens and what we found is architects that do a lot of residential work is that they must have had in mind certain roof pitches and certain kind of generic styles, because when you try to go in with both of these height limits and do things that are, say, steeper pitch style of architecture, the height limit, you're wrestling constantly with the height limit. So here, and it's kind of a good diagram with the neighbor, that his eave height is about where we are, but because he has a lower roof pitch, just by the nature of the style of that house, versus our increased pitch, then we kind of have that 3-inch issue. And what I would like to say is, especially when we look at the photographs, I don't think that anyone would really sense it or notice that we are, that ridges you really can't see as a pedestrian. So this is a better shot of what I'm getting at is, here we are existing with our lower plate height, and then here's the neighbor with a higher plate height. And then our diagram was showing that once we raise this 2 feet, our plate height and soffit are essentially at the same height. And then we get penalized the 3 inches because we have a steeper roof. So kind of what I'd like to say is our building will feel like it's at the same height of this one. But if you go around the district and you find 2-story outbuildings that are of a different style, that have very steep pitches, I guarantee you they're much higher than the 22 and a half feet that is out there in the code. So those folks doing any work to those buildings will have to come back before you.
Thank you. We'll close the public comment and discuss the variances only.
They seem self-inflicted. But unfortunately, well, the addition to the front, I mean, a Suburban won't fit in that area, but most cars, other than a Suburban, will. And this is coming from someone that could not park any of their vehicles in it, but I recognize that others can. The head height, I mean, you know, it's conflicting because you have to allow something here because you're saving the structure. If not, there's no reason to save the structure. So that's my 2 cents worth.
In my mind, we're just memorializing what we already passed and just making the record clear. So I have no issues.
I tend to agree with that thought. We don't want to give them, because they're stuck with their roof pitches. well, we can't ask that question. But so if we're just raising the thing up 2 feet, we're
Mhm.
not changing the roof heights.
Right.
And so that seems to be a reasonable, so our allowing that additional height seems to be a reasonable accommodation. Otherwise, I believe that they would be unable to use the entire first floor
Right.
legally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we are memorializing what we have already approved, and B, allowing for the use of a structure
Right.
in an area where we want to encourage
Mm-hmm.
those kinds of uses in order to maintain the fabric of the district.
Right, I agree.
And the 4 foot is not, adding the 4 feet is making them need the variance, but it's not actually outside of the.
No, I
So
agree,
it's
which
the
is,
existing structure
which
that
is
we're
why,
having to
no, we
sort of
triggered all
go
kinds of
back. Yeah,
things
right.
with the addition, which is why I worded it the way I did, with
Mhm.
this one's very unique,
It is very
Mhm.
unique, yeah.
very unique.
But these accommodations are allowing them to
Preserve,
place,
yeah.
No,
to,
again,
Yeah.
I completely
Mhm.
understand.
So this is it's a really special condition that we encounter here.
Which is why I
I'm
was
sure we're
saying
not the
what I
only
was
ones
saying
that feel that
about,
way.
it seems self-inflicted, but because of some of the current conditions and the fact of what brought this in front of us,
Mhm.
it's just very unique,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it makes it quite the opposite in why.
Mhm.
Now that we're here,
I think
right?
I think it makes it suitable for a variance.
Correct.
Right. Really with no conditions, right? We don't have anything that we need to add.
On the variances.
No, not in the variances.
Okay, so
The
Do-
top, the top
yeah.
one.
yes,
Do you want me to?
yes,
Okay, I don't know.
I'll let you do that one.
Okay. I didn't take any notes. Now, hold on a second, let me get my ducks in a row. This one. Okay. I move that the variance request for case ARC 22-42 for the property located at 910 Fremont Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a rear yard setback from 20 feet to 6.67 feet with 2 feet encroachment for eaves and gutters. South side yard setback from 7 to 3 with 2 encroachment for eaves and gutters. North side yard setback from 7 to 4 with 2 feet encroachment for eaves and gutters, and a height increase from 15 to 24 feet. Based upon the petitioner meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-114D of the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances for granting variances as stated in the evidence provided in this public hearing, specifically that this is key to the successful rehabilitation of this accessory structure, and it's keeping with the alignment and rhythm and historic pattern of Hyde Park.
Do you have a second for the motion?
I will second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. So now we'll go back to the certificate of appropriateness.
Yes, once again, Dennis Fernandez with staff. I just wanted to see if the agent could briefly summarize the wall section. And I'm not sure if that,
Yes, the materials.
right, and
that we're
then
using.
that's the only comment that staff has for the CA. I think it's been principally reviewed at an earlier public hearing with the exception of the additional height.
Yes, and I'll put the elevations up and describe what's happening. Much like the main dwelling, the exterior places where there's rot and all the things that happen after all these years when you start taking it apart. So, and all of the replacement pieces, siding, trim, sills, drip cap over the openings, windows themselves, there's a handful of doors. They're all being replaced with wood products. The siding is cypress siding, and the windows, and these were in the last hearing, are Gelman wood windows, pine preservative treated and painted, of course. The soffit is a beadboard that will also be replaced in many places. Wood beadboard. The new garage doors are carriage house doors from a company like Clopay, so they're intended for historic districts. They have a metal skin, but with composite trim work added to them, so when they're painted, they'll look as close as they can to wood carriage house doors. I think that's all the materials there. And again, the studs, the joists, the roof rafters, everything is getting shored up. You know, these houses tend to stay together as some kind of matrix, but when you start pulling things out like finishes, you know what you find. It's like kind of a horror story. So, and then we feel obligated to make it like we built today. So that's what's going on there.
I would recommend just asking if there's any public comment on the CA and then consideration.
All right. For any public comment, if there's anyone who'd like to speak for or against the project. Seeing no one, the commissioners will ask questions. Nobody.
No
All right.
questions.
You're allowed 5 minutes for rebuttal.
Okay, yeah, if there's no questions, I don't want to keep you here any longer.
All right, the public hearing is now closed and the commissioners will discuss the case.
I think we're good,
I
huh?
think we've already done
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right,
This is a very easy one.
you wanna make a
Would you like
motion?
to do your first motion? Are you happy?
You gotta find the right one.
Mhm.
This one here, right? All right, I move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC 22-42 for the property located at 910 Fremont Avenue, because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park guidelines of the city of Tampa for the following reasons. Just go with this one, right? There's only one. It's in keeping with the exterior repair and restoration for materials.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
I didn't mean to call you out. I don't like doing it either.
For the final case this evening, we have the same agent, as he's preparing here. I'll go ahead and go through the request in the staff report, or the photo essay. This is a request for new construction of a primary structure with renovations to the accessory structure. Case number is ARC 22-48 for the property located at 830 South Rome Avenue. Go to the photo essay. Once again, you see the 1929 Sanborn map. with the subject property located in the green box at the center. The property indicated on this map is not the existing property. The current primary property, principal property was built in 1992. The accessory structure predates that and is being retained. The current principal structure is being demolished and a new residential structure is being proposed. You see the proximity map. This neighborhood is just situated south of Old Hyde Park Village. Of course, the structure is non-contributing. See an aerial of Hyde Park. See Kate Jackson Park across the street. And of course, a number of residential structures around this area. This is the existing non-contributing structure. Got the public notice sign right there in the front there, validating that process. Appreciate that. Some photos of the existing structure. This is going to be approved for demolition based on its non-contributing status by staff. This is the structure that abuts to the north. This is the south side of the subject property. You can see just some of the site details. It is elevated a little higher than grade up with the retaining wall that stabilizes the earth. This is a view looking south down Rome and back the other way north with the subject property on the right side. This is across the street. This is Kate Jackson Park. This is the view down Morrison. And the opposite way down Morrison, looking towards the west. See the subject property here on the right. This is the property across Morrison to the south. This is getting into the site, looking at the rear of the principal structure that's set for demolition. This is the existing accessory structure. This structure is the main focus for the variances that are being requested, similar to the previous case. I think the agent will give you an overview of that. This is a non-contributing accessory structure. See some of the details of the structure. It is going to be retained and proposed for renovation. See the alley that's situated to the east of the property. There is a proposal to have some parking off of that alley. I did want to clarify the request and the noticing for the variances did indicate a parking reduction from 2 to 1 spaces. However, since the documents were produced and distributed, there has been a determination from the mobility department that that is not required, that the alternative parking solution that's presented on the site plan is adequate in this area here that's being shown, and a design exception has been approved for that. Looking back at the alley, looking south along the rear, and then north. And with that, I'll ask the agent to provide an overview of the project and to focus in once again on the variances and the hardship first prior to getting into the larger CA. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis, and again, apologies, you have to listen to me again, but it is the last one, so hopefully go quickly. Per Dennis's directions, I want to give you an overview of the site plan, floor plans very quickly on the exterior elevations of the project, so you have context for this troublesome outbuilding again that's really the subject of the variances. Then I'll come back and take you through the elevations and the detail of the new structure more completely and run through that. But this is another really interesting project. And again, the only reason that we have any variances is that we're really just trying to vest the footprint of the existing carriage house outbuilding, which is here. We don't know the exact date of when this structure was built. It kind of has the looks that it may be from the 40s. This might have been one of those things that was built as the servicemen came home. It has a flat roof. It's really short, 8-foot ceiling heights, very low profile structure, so it's a very short building. It's been continually in use. Its masonry has a brick exterior on it. It was subject of an ARC modifications back in 1990. So we had those drawings with a stamp of 1990, and I'll show you, quickly what happened there. But in an overview, so just to summarize, we're not changing anything about it. We're not changing its use. We are trying to make it more aesthetically compatible with the new structure. So we'll show you that we're just simply adding a truss package on top of it to give it a pitched roof, and adding a man door and a new garage door. So with that, I'll take you through the project, the site plan. So we have Rome and Morrison, the sidewalk system there. It has a retaining wall. The property is about 20 to 22 inches elevated above grade. There is, again, the existing way that you access the second parking space, and I believe we were granted that second parking space because there's a great dimension here for that space. So even though we don't have the proper backup space, we do have the turning radius to get in there. And then also it is a one-car garage, so we have the second car that can be in the garage. But what you're seeing is a proposed new structure in this outline, a separation of about 25 feet between it and the existing outbuilding. The existing outbuilding has a stair built onto the side of it right now that's enclosed. That is being removed. And then we're linking the new structure with the outbuilding with an open breezeway, a hard roof breezeway, but truly a breezeway to connect the two. And you can get from one to the other under cover, and I'll show you how that's done. Second floor, showing bedrooms, the second floor of a two-story porch, that the roof of the breezeway, and then a stair, covered stair, also open, a breezeway stair that gets you to the existing balcony that's on that structure, and then into the second floor. The structure has a small third floor, a request by the owner. This is the master suite, and so really the conditioned area is within this rectangle with a master closet that becomes a dormer, a small open porch that becomes a dormer area, bath as well, and then the stair to get up to it. I'll show you more of that later. Roof structure showing pitched hip roofs everywhere, a compatible new hip roof on that structure. Quick look at the exterior elevations. This is facing Rome, the front elevation, front door. This is an RM24 site. It has some unusual height regulations. You can build up to 60 feet high on the sites. It's a multifamily site. When you do when you look at the calculations, it is sort of a stair-stepped calculation. So you'll see on these elevations a dashed line that indicates the buildable envelope. Side elevations, this is the corner, this is the Morrison side, showing the main dwelling, its two-story porch, its small walkout third-floor porch, the dormers that occur, and the breezeway connection to the outbuilding that now has a pitched roof on it, but only to our 22 and a half height limit. So we felt there were enough variances on this building to vest it. We didn't want to add to that, so we're working with that height limit. Again, images of what it presently looks like, and again, what we're proposing is to remove this setback stair, to add a pitched roof to it, to keep this balcony but extend columns up to catch the pitched roof over it, so that there is a protective way to get into that second floor with that outside porch. The rear and that parking space that we were talking about, the structure has received at some point, over the last 10 years, new windows that are compatible with the district standards, and so we're actually not proposing any changes to the windows or doors on those elevations. We'll show you later. We're adding a door on this side elevation, and we're replacing this garage door with a more attractive carriage house door. Again, not sure of what interest it is, but wanted to show you the approved drawings from 1990 that show the one-car garage and then essentially guest living space on the other two floors. Have the drawings of the other elevations, not sure, really just for historic purposes and questions that we can look at, but showing all of the elevations as they exist. Go back to the site plan and then go through the variance request setback items. So for the rear yard setback, and again, because of its size and so on, again, staff recommended that we go and we ask for it to there be variances to the primary structure setback, and so we're asking for along the rear, the alley side, 20 feet to 2 feet. On the corner yard setback, from 18 feet is required, and it's currently 7'4" from that balcony to the property line, and 18 feet is required now for a new structure for a corner entering garage. That's where the 18 feet has come from on that. And then that's really the only two variances. The parking reduction from 2 to 1, as Dennis said, has been eliminated. Right now, do we want to take questions on the outbuilding? Is that the best way to do
If
it?
that concludes your presentation, then the commission should consider the hardship criteria presented and motion on the variance before we proceed to certificate of appropriateness consideration.
Okay, I can run down the hardship. Okay, so alleged hardships or practical difficulties, unique and singular. Yes, what we're saying is the owners are wanting to continue to use this structure in exactly the same way that they are now. They would just simply like to vest it. It's been there since the 40s, and they just want to vest the structure to be able to continue to use and occupy it. Any practical difficulties that result from the actions? We're saying no, because there is no change whatsoever in its day-to-day use. We, in fact, spoke to neighbors in the area that when they saw a variant sign, they were concerned that we were changing it somehow, adding to it, changing the way the cars come and go, and they were happy to hear it really is going to continue to live the way it always has lived here. Does it substantially interfere with neighbors? We're saying no. Again, there is zero change. All we're doing is vesting it and making it more appropriate looking. Does it follow the general impact and purpose? We say yes. Again, we feel like allowing us to do work to it, meaning adding a pitched roof to it, we feel will make it fit more naturally, aesthetically into the district. Everywhere in our part of the district, it is pitched roof architecture. There's not a lot of modern houses in it, and so we feel like it would become a better neighbor in the district. Will substantial justice be done? We're saying yes, to allow us to vest a building that has been in service, we think, since the mid-century. We think is an appropriate thing to do, not changing its footprint at all, except eliminating a stair, so making it smaller, and so that it can be used into the future. And is it consistent with the design guidelines? I said yes. There are many carriage houses in the district of this size and nature, and we'd just like to make this a bit more compatible than it sits today. And that's it. Okay, yeah, that concludes the variance part.
So Commissioners, I would recommend moving to consider the variances at this portion, and then if they're granted, then we can move on to the certificate of appropriateness review after.
Thank you. Do we need to? If there's any public comment for or against the project, seeing none, we will ask questions of the applicant.
I actually just have a clarification from staff, please. The variances are just to vest the existing footprint. Is that correct?
That is correct. Because a project of this scope is occurring on the property and on the structure, it necessitates the need to bring a non-conforming structure into compliance.
Okay, thank you.
So mine's for staff also. For more clarity, what triggered the variance request? Was it the roof structure change, or is it the attaching to the primary structure, or both?
In this situation, it's the roof structure change. The breezeway is allowed by code without triggering a setback reduction variance. So it's just the rehabilitation. I would say it's more of a renovation and modification to the accessory structure.
You have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you'd like it.
Okay, not really much to say except for keeping it exactly like it is, adding a pitched roof, making its balcony a little nicer looking, adding 2 openings.
Thank you. We'll close the public hearing and the commissioners will discuss the case. Or make a motion.
This is an odd duck to me, because this is an existing building and we are dressing it up in order to accommodate a new building on the front. And may I ask a question? Oh, no, we're discussing now.
Yeah.
Maybe staff, or we can move through.
We said the last one was unique, and now here we are again.
When you guys are discussing, can you speak loud enough so that we can hear?
Do you want to reopen? What's,
The request is for a rear yard setback from 20 feet to 2 feet and a corner yard setback from 18 feet to 7 foot 4 inches, which is what we're looking at today.
which is already there, so even if they're changing the roof, it's not really incorporated in the variances, which,
Mhm.
I mean, the height's staying the same.
Right. Well, actually,
Well, the height's getting,
yeah,
but it doesn't require a
there's-
variance.
yeah,
It won't matter.
require a variance, yeah.
And that's why I asked what triggered this, because it's the roof structure, not the breezeway. So what we're looking at approving or not right now is these
Already
variance
there.
requests that only pertain to this accessory structure, because they would need this regardless.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, we're here because they're, like you said, I mean, we're changing the roof line, or they're changing the roof line because
Mhm.
of what they're planning to do on the property itself,
Mhm.
which is triggering the variance.
Typically, in these cases, I'm hesitant to do this because we are taking up a modernist vernacular building and changing it. Now, when we change buildings of this nature, sometimes we say to them, you have to make it so that you can turn it back. And I think that is appropriate in this case.
Would that be addressed next, though, in the CA?
And that can be appropriately addressed when we're doing the
Okay.
certificate.
Right.
And just Kamaria Pettis-Knuckle for the record, you're only discussing the variance, not the certificate of appropriateness. You guys are only discussing whether or not to approve the variance request. I just want to make sure the four of you on the same page. This is only about the variance right now.
We're only talking about if we're gonna
Right, but
grandfather in the
we're
location.
we're vesting the footprint.
Correct. And then, depending on the vote regarding the variance, then he will discuss the certificate of appropriateness.
I think
Right.
what I'm hearing, though, from my fellow commissioners is because of what's triggering this request for the variance, if at the next level of this, there's discussion regarding not approving a pitched roof,
But that's still certificate of appropriateness. We're just
but then
talking
you
about
don't need the
2 foot.
variance.
No, I think you
No,
still do.
that's,
You still do.
just to clarify, this is about vesting the existing footprint. That's what that's what this variance request is about, is vesting the existing footprint. The design of that existing footprint, he will discuss at the certificate of appropriateness phase. But you guys are right now just determining whether or not you want to vest the existing footprint. That's all that he's asking for in the two variances.
And-
The
and
existing
just to-
footprint.
Just to add to that, if he were to have left the roof the same and removed the internal stair and added the external stair, he would still be asking for the variance.
Okay.
Ah.
And that's why,
That helps.
I just didn't ask enough questions.
What's that?
I said I just didn't ask enough questions.
So, I mean, with Mr. Fernandez is providing that additional information, can we just see if the applicant wants to provide a rebuttal? Just to, you know what I'm saying? If he does, we'll need to open up the public hearing again.
Yes, what I.
No, do you want to add additional information based on what Mr. Fernandez provided?
Yes, just one little piece.
Okay, so can
Is-
we open the public hearing?
I move to open the public forum or
Comment.
comment back up.
Second the motion.
Second the motion.
Okay.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Just for information purposes, it's not a contributing structure right now. So just wanted to say that when it comes to its aesthetics and altering its aesthetics right now.
So now that we've got this back open, can I ask staff a question?
Yes, you can ask.
And your question.
Yeah.
So what you're telling us, staff, is any alteration to this accessory structure would trigger the request that's at hand right now?
Essentially, any type of work to the accessory structure beyond basic maintenance is going to trigger a non-conforming structure to have compliance with the code. So that could be also the cumulative value of internal improvements as well. So you have a non-conforming structure that needs to be in compliance with the zoning code, and the way to do that in process is to request variances or a vesting of the existing footprint of the structure. And then it can continue to exist in its current use and configuration, but it will not now be in compliance if the variances are granted.
So simple things like material change-outs, obviously like they've done in the past, did not trigger any of this.
Correct.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Mr. Fernandez, because it is not a contributing structure, we don't have the same kind of control about changing the style, the architectural style of the building. Is
The
that correct?
style needs to be dealt with under
the
the certificate of appropriateness discussion.
Okay.
If he were not changing the style and he was just removing the stair, you'd still be in the same situation of having to consider a variance.
Okay.
So we
Right,
need
so
to, I
just
think
for-
the first
It's just a footprint.
step is to determine, where this structure goes from here as far as its place on this site. And that's, the appropriate process is what we're engaged in through the variance consideration process.
Right, just to allow this to exist where it exists, we have to give these variances to be in compliance, right?
If there are no more questions for staff, can you see if the applicant, I always want to conclude with the applicant having the last word if he has anything else. No? Okay.
Would you like 5 minutes for rebuttal?
I'm good,
All
thank you.
right, we're gonna close the public case
Mhm.
and discuss.
So now that we have that, we know that any change of significance would put us right back here. So without doing this, nothing can happen to it.
Okay, so I don't think we have any conditions.
No.
All right, so we just need to restate the two variances.
I mean,
the
you,
two-
you, I don't know if you want to condition for, like, a verbiage about it being an existing structure, so that the variance setbacks are applied to the structure and not anything else that they want to add on.
That's a good point.
Mhm. Because now I have to,
It's a slippery slope.
No, it's not that complicated. Or just for the existing structure.
so it's just for the existing
I don't think it's
structure?
that complicated. I think
Okay.
it's just for the existing structure. It's very clear that that's what we're here for. It's just for that rear and corner,
Mhm.
18 feet.
As exists today.
As
you could
exists
say.
today.
Yeah, there's no room for it to go anywhere.
Right, but there is also, are we then allowing any new construction on this site?
No,
Gee.
we'd have to go through
This
this
is-
again with the CA and all the things.
Correct, this
Okay,
is
thank you.
just for the variance.
Okay. Would you like
Okay,
to-
sure.
How did I?
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, I move that the variance request for ARC, oh shoot, hold on. 22-48 for property located at 830 South Rome Avenue be granted as depicted on the site plan presented at the public hearing for a rear yard setback from 20 feet to 2 feet with encroachment of 2 feet for eaves and gutters, and a corner yard setback from 18 feet to 7.4 feet with no encroachments, based upon the petitioner meeting the burden of proof with regard to the 6 hardship criteria set forth in section 27-114D of the City of Tampa Code of Ordinances for granting variances, as stated and evidenced, providing at this public hearing specifically that the setback is maintaining the historic building pattern within Hyde Park, and the orientation and site coverage is also consistent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? None? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And with that, if we could get into the certificate of appropriateness review process.
Okay, great. I'll pick up again on the site plan and plan, just to explain a little bit more about it. It is a box with an additive porch on the front, and then carved out under the rear area is a covered porch space. Again, trying to conserve and create a courtyard that has a small pool in it, and then the connection and stair that is really meant to be like we have here in the tropics, open air but still shielded from the rain, circulation from the main house into the stair, under the little balcony, and then into the outbuilding. I explained the other 2 floors, and so I'll get into the massing here. Also, in front of you guys, we put a rendering of what the house will look like from Rome Avenue, as well as below from the corner at Morrison. And towards the end of that rendering, you see a car parked, and you see the balcony of the outbuilding. There is a height difference between the 2 structures in terms of the outbuilding is down at grade, but then there is a retaining wall that exists around the property that turns back in. So if you're at grade in the driveway, you walk still at grade, and then in the breezeway under cover, you go up steps and then into the house, and then again up at that area, the stair to get in. So there is a grade difference between the 2. I wanted to show an enlarged view of that front elevation. And again, the owners would really like a coastal style house, and so we're showing kind of classic masonry base with steel trowel smooth stucco, masonry columns down at the base. And then at the second floor, it changes to a siding with mitered siding at the corners, and then a pitched roof shed shaped roof second floor porch, and then in part of that is a small balcony off of the master bedroom. So with the master, you can kind of see its outline, and then a structure supported by brackets to help protect the doors out to that structure. So large overhangs, a lot of shaded area as part of that style of architecture. In this elevation, you can also see the dormer that is part of that kind of T-shaped master suite. The master suite really just runs that width into the roof to help hold the roof down, but then it does tee off into the master closet. Also, you can see the side view of the breezeway side entrance into the house, and showing that everything is inside those setbacks. The rear elevation, so this is what you would see from the pool courtyard. Again, here's a section through the breezeway, pitched roof breezeway, and it's louvered panels that are 6 feet high to give some privacy but still breeze into the courtyard. Windows from the mudroom, but then large doors. They're actually sliding doors with transom that's into the great room, and so this is the carved under porch element. The dormer up top, that is the master bath projecting out. Side elevation, this is the one shared with the neighbor, so it's 7 feet from the property line. More minimal fenestration. There is the stair located in the plan, so you get that sort of stair staggering of the windows as you move up. Corner elevation, this is again Rome, the 2-story porch with its shed roof, the standout balcony, the dormers for the master bath, master closet, and then the breezeway with its entrance. There's exists an entrance to the present house off the street, so they're into the retaining wall around the property. There are steps, we're relocating those, but steps directly into that breezeway with its louvered gates to get in. A view of the outbuilding with its existing windows and door. We're adding, again, a new carriage house door and a new entry door down below. But again, carrying that pitched roof, the hipped roof, out over this balcony, adding new columns out there, but really not changing the structure of it. And then that leads to the breezeway stair that takes you down and into the house beyond. If you were standing again at the opposite property line, this is from the pool courtyard. This is what would provide the privacy of the courtyard to the street and the stair itself. Again, a better view of the renderings. Always, these models always help because these hipped roofs in a coastal style have a good pitch to them, but in reality, the pitch really diminishes and fades away in your feel, and you see really much of the overhang. In this case, would be exposed rafters with cypress tongue and groove decking and those sorts of details. The porches, the underside of the porches, would be tongue and groove cypress as well. View from the corner, There's these magnificent live oaks that border the site, so it's really kind of hard to make out the structure beyond and the connector with the outbuilding. Going to move to the style of the structure and show some other similar projects. This is a house that we finished on Davis Island. Again, showing the masonry with stucco ground floor, and then mitered corner siding on the second, hipped roofs with dormers, and similar sort of detailing and roof forms. Detail of, again, the mitered siding, exposed rafter tails, a low profile standing seam roof. It would be aluminum. Other just representative house types of this, we're going to just call it loosely coastal. I won't go into kind of the distinct elements of it, but other coastal residences in communities we've worked in. And then there's a terrific house in Hyde Park at Deacle and Gumby. It's one story, but it sort of has some of this attitude and features. Has a really steep hip roof. I've always loved that house, and maybe it's a distant cousin of what we're trying to do. In terms of height, we are in a district that allows us some additional height, but I wanted to show that we're not really kind of so unusual in the district. In fact, the house that is across the alley heading in the east direction is a beautiful Charleston style single house that's been there. It's not from the historic period, but it's maybe 20 years old, just really, really handsome, and it's very tall. It's 3 stories, and it has a roof form that's within 2 feet of the height of ours. They're up in the glasses there. It's a 4211, so nearly 43 feet. Ours is 44.7. As you go, and I alluded to this before, but as you go around the historic districts around the country, you'll see, depending on how high the house is elevated out of the ground, and then its stylistically in terms of its roof form, and then other things like floor-to-floor height and unique things to different properties, it's not unusual to have houses that are easily in the mid-40s in terms of their height. The 35 feet, again, I think I've seen that in the code since I was in college, so it's been around for a long time, and I think it was generic, probably dealing with architecture in the 80s or 70s, so it's really tough to kind of look at that in terms of all of the various styles and attitudes historically. So again, 42 feet on Delaware, almost 39 feet Fielding, 41 feet Willow. And you can see these are just architecture with steeper roofs than the more common Craftsman, lower scale, 5 or 6 and 12 kind of pitched roof. So some more 39 feet De Leon, 39 feet Magnolia, so on and on with that. But also wanted to show you a couple of newer houses that are very tall. A new three-story, these are both on Rome, so a three-story house, and then another home with a three-story element. Again, we're trying, I think the way our rendering looks from Rome, I think will be more compatible, certainly than these homes are. I wanted to quickly show that our front setback and the height at the base of our house, basically from grade to porch slab, our porch material, is in keeping with our neighbors. So here we are, and then here are the houses the rest of the way to Rome with Hyde Park Village here. And we're at 20 feet along with our two neighbors heading north. And then they vary, 21 feet, 23, 22 and a half, and 14. Averages somewhere around or right at the 20. So I think that's where, when these were developed, the 20 feet came from. In terms of the height out of the ground, we measured the neighbors. They vary from 8 inches to 24 inches, 12. They average 15 inches. We're 18 inches above the site with our porch. And I have photos of those. I'll kind of spare you those. I'm going to show you a material palette, and then I can show you some wall sections quickly. The front entry door, although it's not shown this way in color on the rendering, will be a mahogany door with side lights in transom. The windows are Sierra Pacific casements and aluminum clad wood with simulated divided lights and a filler in between the insulated glass to appear as historic as new impact windows possibly can. We do have the sliding doors that we mentioned. They're aluminum, and Marvin is the manufacturer, and they slide. They're lift and slide doors that pocket out of the way. Again, the Clopay insulated steel door with its applied trim. On the garage outbuilding, the only other opening we're adding is on the north side. It's a man door, and we're picking a composite door that has the details of a wood door, but with the durability of new materials. We do have also some swinging French doors, so those are aluminum clad wood as well. The siding is a Hardy-like product, thick like their artisan product that I understand is no longer available, but can be mitered to get that kind of that craftsman, arts and crafts sort of corner detail. At the sills, we typically use a product by AZEK, so it's a solid PVC material that paints up like smooth wood. So our typical sill, our casings are a Hardy-like material, fiber cement, 6-inch width on the sides, 8-inch on the top, with again another AZEK drip cap detail. Our railing is a combination of true pressure-treated, kiln-dried and planed solid verticals, and then 2x2 solid PVC horizontals all painted to appear like wood. Top rail is an Ipe round dowel in stanchions, in stainless stanchions. It's similar rail to a house that we have on Bayshore Boulevard. So you can kind of see that in reality, how it looks. Again, standing seam, low profile roof. The decking material will be some sort of natural stone, perhaps a travertine. Light fixtures will be a very simple transitional fixture. This is one by Bevelot. We have I wanted to show you this picture because we do have louvered panels on the breezeway, and we haven't had, in 30 years, we haven't had the greatest luck with wood shutters, louvered shutters. So we found a handful of companies that make a composite shutter. We'll use a company, and we can get approval with staff that, like this one, makes a composite shutter with the details that match more historic rail dimensions and so on. For the outbuilding, that's currently a struck brick. We wanted to kind of let it continue to have its own character as if it were built over time, like it was, and so we thought it would be a shame to come back over that masonry, over that brick, and so thought that we would come back with grout and do this sort of clunker brick feel to it, paint it white, and let that have its own personality again. Really quickly, wanted to show you, this is the existing steps and sidewalk and the condition of the wall. We'll refurbish the wall, new stucco to it. We're widening the stairs here to 9 feet wide, and they will be like all that you see around the district. It will just be a concrete walk and concrete steps. We won't bring down any pavers or anything like that are kind of inappropriate. Our existing side steps that will be relocated to the new entrance, you can see it relative to the outbuilding. One last thing, I think I need to quickly walk you through some wall sections. I don't want to put you to sleep, but I'll show kind of a typical wall section. Even though the second floor of the structure is expressed in siding, we found it's best to just build the entire structure out of concrete block. We're showing exposed rafter tails. Here is, above the rafter tails are wood tongue and groove, cypress. The end blocking is a fiber cement product, again, all painted to appear like wood. The siding, the opening trim that I mentioned with the AZEC details, and then add the belt course around the structure separating the stucco from the siding is a built-up area of flat fiber cement trim, again with a drip edge cap separating the two materials. And then down at the base, there is a water table that stands out 1.5 inches from the rest of the stucco, out of stucco. A view of the 2-story porch, again exposed rafters out of wood, clad beam and fiber cement. The columns are laminated timber columns with chamfered corners and edges, and real working brackets to keep it from racking. The rail detail we showed before, the floor system is an Ipe hardwood decking. Again, a clad beam work to that first floor porch that is in line with that belt course. Cypress TNG ceiling, and then the columns are poured in place, concrete with chamfered edges and a more minimal detail at the capitol. Almost there. Same detail, but this is at the where the little master standout porch is. Again, same detailing as the porch below. The hip roof that comes out over to protect the French doors, again, have laminated timber brackets, an exposed beam and rafter. So all that structure is seen. And then our detail of that, the porch, the balcony off of the carriage house, really just kind of updating it by bringing the roof over. It will cantilever over, but we will have columns that will come down on that porch, similar rail system, existing windows and doors, and then the new overhead door. All right, I think that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening once again, Commissioners. The staff report, the conclusion of the staff is that the application is consistent with the Hyde Park design guidelines, with the presented plans, with the following considerations. Provide the existing elevation from grade along the block north of the subject site and demonstrate consistency with the proposed elevation from grade of the principal structure. Consider minimizing the presence of the third floor balcony, perhaps to more minimal detailing. I think he did talk about the roof form. We did have some concerns about the amount of roof surface visible. The mixture of sidings, I believe, is somewhat unusual within the district. You do see some mixture of siding on craftsman-style houses where you can have stucco and lap siding combined. It's typically an unusual detail within vernacular architecture in the district. The breezeway, its proximity to Morrison is rather close. I think you should have some detailing of the breezeway to understand its presence there and for it to be as discreet as possible. I believe there was some discussion about potentially adding an elevator shaft. I'm not sure if that's still being considered, but if it is, perhaps you want to explain that. Indicate where the fencing is on the plan, the height, the materials, and design. Consider a foundation treatment to tie in with some of the characteristics of the structures within the district. And then if you do move towards an issuance of a final certificate of approval this evening, the height of the accessory structure will be pending the approval of a design exception 1 application that's currently under review. And that concludes my comments. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. If there's anyone here to speak for or against the project, please come up now. Seeing none, the commissioners will ask questions for the applicant. I think we can go ahead and just start by running through the conditions that Ron had stated, starting with, I know that you'd provided like a diagram. Do you have the existing elevation from grade as well as the adjacent properties
Yes.
elevation from grade?
Yes. That was this diagram, where we were showing the different heights. They averaged above grade about 15 inches. And we're showing that ours is 18 inches, similar to two that are right next door to us. So showing that we're kind of in that range.
Thank you. There was a note to consider minimizing the appearance of the third floor balcony and double roof dormer for a more minimal feature. If you could talk through that.
Yes, you know, that comment came up before we had the three-dimensional model and renderings. And so I think by doing those, and we sort of polished the detailing of this area and changed it on those drawings, when you see it the way you would experience it versus straight on flat elevations, I think I think this really kind of illustrates that it's a pretty quiet feature, and so we feel like it's appropriate for this kind of style and really kind of compatible with historic architecture. It's really just a pair of brackets. At one time we had columns up there, so brackets holding a beam, holding the rafters, so really just a simple cover to help protect these doors. And when you look at the elevation, the prominent element is the two-story porch. We've cheated it in on both sides, so it has a little bit more delicate proportion to it. And then the hip roof really fades away quickly. And we feel that dormer element, because besides all the great things that it's doing to give access to this little porch with views of the park and Rome, it really kind of gives a vertical element over the center bay of the three-bay porch. So we feel like it's an appropriate detail up there.
Could you talk through the double dormer up there as opposed to just a single?
Yeah, the double dormer, so it's really the profile of the width of the master bedroom itself. Try to find that elevation. Yeah. So it's really the width of the master bedroom is projecting out, and then really what's being called the double dormer is really the hip roof that's protecting the doors. So something you see in tropical architecture a lot to try to protect it from these elements that we live in here.
I believe that you spoke on it, but since it's been brought back up, there was a suggestion to minimize the dominance of the roof form, considering reducing the slope.
So with that, I think we tried to illustrate with the rendering that it's not as you see or what's felt by looking at straight-on elevations. One of the reasons why we can't reduce it any further is that our stair is located in this piece, as well as our future elevator. So it's really the head height of the stair as you come up to the master, and then also the stair wraps around the future elevator location, and we don't want to come back in the future and say, oh, by the way, we need an elevator overrun or some additional space to pierce through the roof form. So a combination of those things, and then giving the kind of ceiling height in this center area were really the considerations for that roof form. And I think, in looking, staff's reaction to just seeing the flat elevations changed when looking at really the reality of these hip roofs when you experience it from a pedestrian level.
There's a condition to reconsider the mixture of siding materials currently proposed of siding and stucco to be appropriately referenced within the Hyde Park Historic District. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, there we felt like it was appropriate to this style to have this combination. You see it throughout coastal architecture, Gulf Coast. You see it in the islands and so on, anywhere where there is rising water, and then some of our oldest historic towns, St. Augustine, has a prevalence of this sort of thing, where sort of a frame cottage is built on top of a masonry base. So we felt like because it is kind of within a recognized heritage or style, that we should have some of that flexibility, especially when we see some of the other flexibility in the district, which I think is a great thing for new structures in our modern buildings, and in the couple that I just showed you, the other three-story buildings. So I feel like we're much closer to being a cousin of our district than perhaps those are. So we felt like we could stay true to this, to our precedents, and not have to, I guess, move away from them and kind of blur their integrity. So yes.
All right. Simplify the design of the breezeway and elements, and simplify the design of the shutter screening to provide a more discrete feature from, I think the comment was from Morrison.
Yes. We do a lot of these courtyards with enclosures, and trying to think that, it's essentially a colonnade with an infill of louvered panels, very simple louvered panels. So thinking that is a very simple expression, and with really, the only difference being kind of an interesting pair of louvered entry doors or gates into it. So, it's very unadorned, but still a lot of detail. There is exposed rafter tails above a hip roof over the entry piece that projects out, as well as the stair itself projects out. So we wanted to give a lot of architecture to that area so that it wasn't just something that just undesigned, let's just say, but something with some delight to it, to mark the entrance, to mark the stair that's almost like a stair tower, so to speak, and then all in keeping with these lower roof pitches.
And there's no fence on this side of the property, correct?
There's not. It's really the breezeway is the security and privacy issue. On the comment of the fencing, because we are thinking about fencing along the north side, we don't have a design for that yet, and we'd be happy to come back to you guys or to staff with that design. It's likely to be something very simple. Another property on Oregon that we finished has, again, these kind of large horizontal wood louvers and between posts, so it's something probably like that we'll bring back.
And I think you also touched on this, the elevator is future possibly in the middle of the stair tower? Is that right?
I'll show you a plan. So this is how the plan works. You come in, and it's really a very open great room, as well as the stair hall. So it's really a big open space. This is the base of the stair that winds around and up, And so this area, that rectangle is where a future elevator might be. So we pulled it in, you know, the width of the stair from the outside wall, so there would be enough override height for when that day comes. But both the head height of the stair and that override are kind of generating where the plate height of that roof is. But along with that, you know, the sort of 2.5-story kind of feel to the volume.
I think my last one, go ahead.
About the stairway, so that is calculated so that there will be no bump out in the roof if you should decide to install the stairway.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, here's the second floor. Maybe shows it better. As you come up and land, there's the kind of the open to below area for the future elevator. And then also up in the master, as you come on up and land, there's the location there inset.
And there was a question on incorporating a period-appropriate foundation treatment to the primary structure.
Yes, that was among some of the things. We did see it, kind of took the base level of the porch and set out 1.5 inches of stucco base as if it has a thicker masonry at the bottom and then steps in, so like a water table.
Question?
No.
No question?
Well, okay, now we're at general questions, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
general
general questions. So the breezeway, the louvered panels are not set all the way on the deck, but they're raised up a little bit, right?
Yes, yeah. And
So
go
like-
to just sort of head height.
Okay. And we can get a kind of an idea about landscaping from the elevations, but those are, rather from the renderings, but those are sometimes a little
Yeah.
more to make the rendering look good than they are actual landscaping.
Yeah.
Do you have a landscaping plan?
We don't right now, but, yeah.
Do you anticipate a lot of foundation planting? Is that the?
You know, I would like to see that, yes. And especially along the south elevation, we have an arbor element there too, so would love to actually take the landscape up on the face of the building. It is so hard to sometimes look at what these things will really be, but yeah, if I see, you know, base plantings, heavy, you know, like a bougainvillea or something there, probably a small tree here, and so on, just to, again, continue with the elements to just make it as beautiful as possible. Yes.
That's all you got?
Yep, that's all I got.
Go ahead. Oh. You showed us the elevation changes, you know, 3 steps, 2 steps. Do you know the topo of the land as it goes down the block? Is it causing any of that, or is it pretty level?
You know, it seems like it looks like it's consistent, like the platform, the retaining wall probably does change. And just how much, I don't know, but we measured the distance from that new grade elevation to the top of the front porch, because we thought, you know, knew that was the important part, and so that's what we measured there.
And I'm sure y'all probably looked at some options of not connecting the primary with the accessory structure, and you've decided to connect them for a reason.
Yes, it really was the usability. It was a big owner desire to be able to get from one to the other under cover in the rain. And And then kind of the nice thing about it is it provides an attractive sort of privacy in a barrier to the pool courtyard on the inside. And it kind of makes an attractive composition of the main building and the outbuilding and connecting them appropriately. But probably privacy and then shelter were the two drivers there.
And you showed sliding doors on the rear of the house, and I guess there's some French doors going somewhere else. Was there any thought process looked at as far as using French doors at all locations?
You know, and that pair of French doors, I was trying to remember where that went. We used that pair, really trying to represent a single French door, and so that was kind of applying to something that you really couldn't see, but this door into the mudroom is kind of a French door, glass French door, but the big openings, the multiple openings, like off of that rear porch, and then the ones off the master, the owners really like the idea of being able to slide those out of the way. You know, it's sort of something that everybody's in love with right now, the sort of disappearing glass walls, and so we're trying to keep a compatible element in that, you know, the rails are kind of the dimensions of more historic doors, but then the function is more contemporary to slide those out of the way. But the aim is when they're closed, the rail size, their color and so on will approximate wood or metal-clad wood doors. And then up there in the master, they really wanted the ability to just slide them out of the way. So they're really just slider pocket doors, again with kind of wood French door dimensions to their rails.
Okay.
So trying to do both things. Yeah.
That's all I've got.
And those doors on the first level at the rear are set back. They're underneath, you know, they're underneath the porch. They're like 12 feet?
Yes,
How
I
far?
think actually 16 feet.
Okay.
For the deep porch, yes.
So their actual presence is kind of minimized. We sometimes get wrapped up in that, but they're way back underneath there.
All right. The applicant has 5 minutes for rebuttal, if you'd like.
I think from the nature of the questions, I'm hoping I don't really need a big rebuttal, but just want to say, you know, thank you guys for listening through it. We're trying to, you know, our owner really wanted something as a coastal expression, and we're wanting to do something that's compatible with the rest of the architecture in the district. It just, when you look around the district, you have all kinds of things. Queen Anne, Dutch colonial, and, you know, so we just see this as one more kind of new interpretation of historic architecture. You know, now we have international style modern, and so I know it's different, but I think it's in keeping and kind of spreading that language of the district.
Thank you. We will now close the public hearing and commissioners will discuss the case. I think, like my first knee-jerk reaction is to consider this almost as one of the design styles that we see more often in the district, but peeling back and understanding that this is new construction, it's not, it is like a coastal style, it's not the cottage or the bungalow, sort of gives a little bit of breadth to some of the questions that we'd looked at originally, like the foundation enclosure and the roof line and things like that, that typically we would try to get more regulated into the style that we see it in over and over in Hyde Park. Mm-hmm. But recognizing this as not that style, gives this a little bit more freedom to have a little bit of unusual details for the district.
I think also its location on a corner lot. It's not, and on Rome, which is is a substantial street. And it seems as though, although it initially appears to be quite a large house, it is not outside of the completely outside the norm.
Right.
Certainly in this area and along Rome, because there are so many multifamily buildings as well. I don't think that it will stick out. And I personally am fine with the design elements. We have approved farmhouse style with lots of
Right.
board and batten that is that seems to be much farther outside of the realm of possibility than this. And it's doing what it wants to do very well, I feel.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The knee-jerk reaction is, wow, this is a lot.
Mhm.
But then you see that, and hopefully it looks just like that.
Mhm.
And my experience is that sometimes, especially with these larger homes, we think it's going to be overwhelming, but then once it's actually constructed, it's not. And in this case, you do have the large trees, and there's already some structures in the area that are either of the same size or very close.
Mhm. And it's actually being built on a multifamily lot,
Yeah,
so it could be.
Right.
Correct.
A lot
And,
bigger.
I mean, the massing down the side, the breezeway, that seems to be a lot of solid mass right there. I'm sure some landscaping will definitely soften that up
Mhm.
as they get further into the plan. And I can obviously appreciate wanting privacy, especially on a corner lot, so. But I mean, if you were going for coastal, you nailed it. I will give you that. And it looks like something that, you'd see in Charleston.
Or Key West or St.
Yeah.
Augustine. It's still a Florida home to me. Looks nice.
But it has historic fabric to it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I'd also we need to remember that if it had a fence instead of a breezeway, we wouldn't be able to say much about it, right?
Which is why I'm not.
Yeah, I like that it's open like that, but still private for them and secure.
I do want to make sure if we make a motion that the design exception approval for the height of the accessory structure is included, and then if any fencing is to make its way into the proposal, that it's approved by staff.
Right. We're missing a north fence on the site, so, and I believe that the agent has said that they're working on
So
it.
it'll come, yeah,
Yeah, it'll
so
come.
just approval by staff.
Mhm. Move to grant a certificate of appropriateness for the drawings and documents presented at this public hearing in ARC. Let's see, I've lost my, okay. In ARC, case number 22-48, for the property located at 830 South Rome Avenue, because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park Historic District Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons. Oops, oh no, I'm sorry, it's with conditions. For the property located at 830 South Rome Avenue with the following conditions. That approval of the accessory structure height condition is granted as it is currently under review.
As a design exception.
As a design exception, thank you. And that a design for the north property fence and a landscape design are submitted to staff for their approval. Because based upon the finding of fact, the proposed project is consistent with the Hyde Park Historic District Design Guidelines of the City of Tampa for the following reasons. It is consistent in its scale, its massing and building form, the setback from the streets, its alignment, and the alignment, rhythm, and spacing of architectural elements.
I'll second the motion.
Do you understand and accept the condition?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
Ron, do we need to, I'm sorry, I'm so used to Ron. Dennis, do we
Probably
need
looked the same
to
from the
push
back of
the
the head.
election of officers, yeah, the back of your head, the election of officers to a future?
I would recommend, being that your vice chair is not here and Commissioner Sutton, that you continue it to March the 7th and just allow me to reemphasize that we're going to have the election that day. We obviously have some capable commissioners to fill in, so there's not an urgency to it.
Okay, I move to continue the election of officers until the March 7 meeting.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.